Was
Oh
that my
god.
computer? Was that you? Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Legends Franchise Association Winter Week number 4 with ID versus Mint here. Hopefully, we'll be able to get this started without any delays here, as tonight we actually got a match set up that really is going to set kind of the foundation of both of these teams, given, a lot of expectations for both of them not to be sitting on the lower part of the bracket. Granted, ID hasn't played their game against Final Boss, but, point still stands considering how, the split has been going for ID and both Mint so far.
Yeah, absolutely. This really does kind of shape the foundation of the league. These are the two players that were the number 1 and number 2 going into playoffs the last split, and now both are in a little bit of a weird spot. ID sitting at that 1-1 definitely means they could be either a really good team or a bad team. Maybe they're just middle pack this year. Still waiting to see how they really fledge out, and they're gonna have a bit of an interesting time because this Mint team, which was kind of the staple, the only team that really stayed together coming into this split over the last week, kind of imploded. Obviously, a bit of a rough start, going 1-2, and it seems like due to some like player morale and some stuff behind the scenes, they made a trade with a new slash returning face in Divine Ascension, taking Syndicate's spot in the league. They made a 3-player trade, so now the only player that is still, or excuse me, the only players that are still with them going into this split that is returning from last is Daro and Rept, two very good players, but a lot of their cornerstones have gone over to this new Divine Ascension team. So this is their first run out. There's a lot of questions. I don't think there's actually a lot of expectations here for Mint. I think people are just waiting to see how this new team kind of forms, especially as they are having to kind of build that chemistry while the plane is flying, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be like on the fly here, and it's really going to matter a lot here if Mint can come out with the win against ID. ID obviously not having the best of starts that they have been, the expecting, with both Frozen and Rutledge staying onto the roster and with how much, juggernauts they were the previous split. So it's
Oh
really
yeah.
up to Mint here to really like show up and be like, hey, we got a new roster, we got things going on, we figured some things out. If we could take a series off of ID, that would be a huge, huge showing, even with ID not really showing as much what the expectations were. But I will say in general, I mean, both of these teams have a lot to prove tonight, a lot to prove.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not going to be easy. ID, even though they did have a bit of a down week last week, obviously, with that loss, they're still sitting pretty comfortably. Dilly is number 4 in kills per game. Zedric, their support, is number 10 in KDA. Most, like, I think 2 or 3 of their players are sitting in the top 10 of the like lowest deaths. So even though they had a rough series last week, they're still very good players, especially statistically. So it's going to be exciting to see how this plays out. But that being said, bans, or at least the first wave of them, are completely picked out. We do see that Smolder and Volibear. It is going to be a Trundle on that R2. So that has been selected, just didn't really select properly. So Trundle and Smolder for the red side. Meanwhile, this Volley and the Tristana on the blue. I think that's actually pretty good. I think all 4 of these picks can be flexed into at least 2 lanes. So there's still a lot of solidifying there. We do finally see that Leona come out. Obviously, it's going to be going into that support role. It's just going to be waiting to see what they go with their second picks, or their third and fourth, excuse me, fourth and fifth pick to solidify if that Tristana is going mid or ADC.
And then we got Braum going to be answering out with that Leona pick. So Tristana Leona, Tristana could be going mid. But if in general, if this is going to be a Trist Leo bot lane, Braum, excellent pickup, kind of like that, just straight up shutdown for the engage and just overall kill lane that ID bot is going to have so far if the Tristana is going into that bot side. And Smolder, obviously, wants to stack up here, but once again, could be a Smolder mid as well. It'd be kind of fun if we get
Yeah.
Smolder and Tristana both into the mid lane here. And Smolder actually popping up more recently. Wasn't really picked or played all that much last split, but is definitely getting a lot more love and attention now, especially
Yes.
going in with Fearless. And it's not like he's super duper weak. And he definitely has that very, very potent scaling power, as we do see the next two bands coming out from it about typical, getting rid of that Alawi, followed up by the Aurelian. So a lot of pushback onto Frozen's champion pool, like usual, from Mint as ID. I would say, without like knowing the players, kind of what ID is banning, I would say, screams a lot of just like typical cookie cutter like meta picks. I would say probably outside of the Graves. Graves not really too strong into the meta comparison as he was, I would say, about a year ago last season.
Yeah. Okay, and we do see that R4 pickup of the Syndra. That makes a lot more sense. That does pretty much solidify that Smolder is going to be going on that bot side. I did look at it repped. If they rocked the Smolder, it would have been like a first-time pickup. Their history shows them playing mostly mages, so it would have been a little crazy, but the Syndra does absolutely make sense. I'm actually really find it really interesting that those two top laners were banned out by ID. Obviously, having Rutledge on your team is a massive boon. They are one of those players that can just carry you to a win. So they got rid of two either really annoying or really flexible options that can hold their own on that top side. So I'd imagine this pick could be a pretty strong top side pull and not just one of those champions that you throw on top lane to keep lane neutral. So that would be something to look out for. We do see that Victor to meet the Syndra, another pretty hard scaler with a lot of potential and good range. And actually, it looks like Volley is
Volley
going to be
Bear
the one
top.
going up into Nocturne top is a thing. I just don't. I would imagine that's
Don't see
not going to be the case. So that's going to be a Volley on the top side. That's very, very interesting. Volley has been living in the jungle recently. So to see them operate up on that top side is going to be nice. It does put Mitt in a position, do you run that Trundle on the top or do you put it in the jungle? And well, technically it could be either still, but I'd imagine there's going to be a Trundle in the jungle with a Mundo up top to run into that Volley Bear.
Yeah, we got it. We got a Mundo game on our hands. Um, Better be corporate Mundo. If you're picking the champion and you don't have the skin, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah,
You gotta have it.
absolutely.
It's like synonymous with the skin. It's like I can't even see Mundo anymore like without the corporate Mundo skin, especially after Alois just completely tearing it up and the Korean solo queue with it. So it could possibly still be Mundo into the jungle, because I could still see Trundle going into this top side into the Volibear
Yeah.
in general. This is definitely like very strong, like just decision making that Mint can have here. And because they were holding on to that Trundle with the R2 and with Nocturne be picked here, I mean, I would say like in general, Mint had like the better like decision making when it comes to the draft, being able like to have as many decisions as they had for how they kind of wanted to play it out because of that just like very like obvious like flex pick that they had with the Trundle. But I do still imagine it probably will be a Mundo top and a Trundle into the jungle. And Victor, Syndra, very typical matchup. Usually, I want to say is more Syndra favored than Victor favored, especially because Syndra just has more of a just easier time slinging spells and actually being able to be more consistently useful than the Victor. But I would say Victor has just a little bit more utility in his kit, especially when it comes to the later stages of the game because of his passive. But I do expect the Syndra to be kind of holding this prio into the mid lane and kind of see how that goes, especially considering who his opponent is being frozen forever.
Yeah, I do find these two compositions very interesting. I kind of like both of them. However, they are pretty cookie cutter. I think you've studied it in the past. And I agree. There's nothing too crazy. They both seem like pretty bog standard front to back, big front line with some really strong hyper carries in the back. I think the really only divergence from that is technically the volley and the Tristana have a and the jungle Nocturne have means of going in, but they're not like a very heavy dive team, especially with that Leona in the support role as well. So I imagine it's going to be a lot more front to back, just kind of protecting that Victor and trying to make space for that Tristana to go in when needed. Meanwhile, from Mint, it is straight front to back. It is just meat wall in front of that ADC and that Syndra. So I don't think there's too much of a deviation, but Sheep, you know me, man. You know where my brain is going and where I'm already questioning, going, where are you going to find the value on that? And that would be that Nocturne. I'm not a believer in it, but I'm always proven wrong. But I still hold firm. I will die on this hill in this specific situation as well, because you're not going to get really much value anywhere near that top side. So if this Trundle sits on the bot, there's going to be a lot of protection, because the only two players you can find really any value with that ultimate is going to be on that Syndra and on that Smolder. So if they protect those two carries well, as well as, honestly, if they just put this Nocturne behind, it's not like it's a Nocturne Orianna combination. It's going to have to rely on this Nocturne getting ahead. If they don't meet those requirements, I don't know if this Nocturne's going to find the value. So I'm leaning Mint right now, but I think that is really the only difference between the two. I think it's a pretty solid draft for both teams.
Yeah, definitely. It's very clear kind of how they want to play this, with ID having a very strong dive, heavy engage, and Mint has more, I would say, a good answer to it with the Braum, with the Syndra, and with the Trundle. I mean, they have a lot of ways to peel a lot of this dive away with the Braum, with the Scatter the Weak from the Syndra. I mean,
Mhm.
even the Trundle Pillar, if placed correctly and if, abused around correctly, is such a good peeling tool. And what is a better peeling tool than having a 6K one-shotting Mundo on your team just running into the Tristana Victor? I mean, that's like
I mean,
about
yeah.
the best peel that you can realistically get, right? I mean, we've all seen the damage that you can really pull out with this champion if you can get a lead, or even just stay even into this top side. But in general, the scaling on Emit is so good with the Syndra, with the Smolder. Trundle gets stronger as the rest of the bruisers and tanks from ID get stronger. And Victor does cover that distance a little bit. Tristana with her passive, with the range. But when you're going up against Smolder, when you're going up to Syndra, these abilities that just have so much range and the ability to one-tap you, like I said, like you said, I do favor Mint a little bit more, but with the dive that ID has, we will not know. But ladies and gentlemen, going to go to a quick intermission for the spectator delay. Do not go anywhere for game number 1 between ID and Mint. Alrighty, welcome back everyone to game number 1, week 4, ID versus Mint. ID on the blue, Mint onto the red side here. We'll see if we're going to get any crazy level 1 action or if we're going to see just a basic boring 5-way split between all of these. We do see the Moss Stomper seed going over to the Nocturne here, so we're not going to see the red, we're not going to see the blue, and we got Trundle, Beanie going for the blue, so... Well, I'm actually a little bit interested onto that one. I mean, I know some Nocturne players like to have that little extra tankiness, but I feel like being able to just kind of deal damage and roam around the map. I know it's so hard to like weigh between movement speed because movement speed is like the most busted stat in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely makes it interesting, and it is hard to tell, especially early on. You see more of the difference as we get later into the game. But we do see a pretty standard 5-point. There's like nothing going on. Neither side wants to give anything. Neither side's even making a presence in the river. They are just sitting in bushes. I think the only two that can see each other are in mid lane, and that's just because they're sitting and dancing with each other while they're waiting for the lane to really get started. But yeah, no, neither team wants to give an advantage to the other. We're not going to see some any cheesy plays early on. It is going to be standard. The waves are going to be hitting first here in the mid lane to start, and we're finally seeing some level of action. I'd imagine we see this mid lane remain pretty neutral. Obviously, both have pretty long-range abilities. They'll be able to poke each other out for quite a bit. The only way I'd see that lane going heavily in one way or another is if one of those two junglers just decide that they want to get one of their I almost said APC, but that's not correct. But their mage hyper carries just super far ahead early. But I'd imagine they would want to put a little bit more presence towards this bot side instead.
And so they're gonna get stunned up here. Daisy Ignite Aftershock about to fall down here. This player taking a lot of damage from Dilly. One more auto for the explosion. One more auto with the lethal first blood to Zendrick. And VB Warrior forced to flash Dilly on the prowl, but it's gonna decide against to continue, but it doesn't matter. That's still a kill going over to ID. Fortunately for him, not to Dilly, but still a little overzealousness from Display and VB Warrior to walk forward. After the initial burst, Tristana, Leona will win.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy as well. They're rocking the biscuits, which I didn't have nerf, so they're still very strong. So this Tristana, anything that they lost is going to practically come back to them in full, and that is going to be nice, and it's going to give an advantage for this bot side of ID. We do see the recall come through, not surprising, as I'm sure a little bit of extra gold in their pocket. They're going to want to get that down early and get those items so they can continue to snowball this lead going forward. Like you said, the kill did not go over the daily, so it's still not perfectly ideal for ID, but it's a darn good start as we do see the first waves or the first clears being completed by these junglers, ending on opposite sides. So expect maybe a little bit more presence on the bot side from Mint, or maybe ID finishing up on the top side are wanting to try to put Rutledge ahead.
Yeah, we got kind of a split opposite side maps with the junglers here, so neither side is going to be here for either of a counter gank going on here. So it's just going to be most likely to trade of scuttles and possibly looking for something in one of these two lanes. And I kind of want to put some attention into this top side. Dara and Rutledge. Dara was like the #1 top laner going in to the playoffs last split, yeah. And here he is getting ganked up right now. There's passive spell immune going to be procced out, going to be forced to flash. So just like that, Rutledge is better. Definitely. So Beanie is going to go with the pillar here, but the stun is going to come out, force him away with that W. But like I was saying, Dara was thrown up there as, you know, the all-star top laner, but Rutledge was shown also to be this absolute powerhouse and somebody that could have also picking up that title. So it's an interesting matchup to see both of these kind of titans go up against each other, because this is really going to solidify, like, okay, which one of us is better. As we're going to be on the prowl here. Frozen, sniffing something's going on here. Definitely not going to walk up too close.
Yeah, and actually statistically, those two are still some of the best in the entire league. Obviously, some of the better top laners and just some of the best statistical players that we have. Though it's kind of in opposite ways. Daro has actually continued to perform really well, even though their team has struggled, still securing the second most kills on the roster besides Rept. Meanwhile, Rutledge, while they have not gotten as many kills, they are still a very solid top laner. And just like in the last split, they are extraordinarily low when it comes to deaths per game. So even though they're not contributing to as many kills, they are just such a solid top laner that does not feed anything over, and they keep that lane state in a good position and then capitalize where they can. So both of those top laners being very valuable in different ways, but they are still some of the best. So this is going to be kind of the battle of the giants, and that's not just because it is a Mundo versus a Volibear.
Yeah, and Mundo is set up perfectly for this matchup because Rutledge only has one type of hard CC being his Q, and so there's no other way for him to proc Daro's passive. And hold that thought, as we do see the Stonebringer with the Unstoppable, he still has the flash. Rutledge has to get out of here, is going to be forced to use it. And yep, that's a little bit of a just answer back here. So we got a flash from the Nocturne gank into the top side, and Trundle also answered back to get the flash off of Rutledge as well. So both flashless top laners here. Daro is going to come up first with his, but like I was saying, hold that thought. Send the play right onto Displayer, though. It's going to be quite a bit of damage once that falls down, but no, that's just Braum things right there. Props Unbreakable Shield,
Yeah.
jumps away with the stand behind me, and that's pretty much how this lane wants to be played with Mint. But yeah, Rutledge cannot proc the passive off of Mundo with anything but the Q. And once he procs it, he has no follow-up CC to kind of keep him there. So Daro, even though he's down about 14 CS, so about a couple of waves here, there's not really anything Rutledge can do. Like, he can't really have any type of kill threat on him. So Daro is just going to be farming it up, going to be safe, going to just do Mundo things and just go where he pleases. As currently on his side of the map, exactly where he wants it to be.
Yeah, and after that gank on the top side, Mint kind of showed their hand a little bit, ID realizing that that jungler is up on top, so they take the opportunity that they can and get that Drake for free. So that is going to be an Infernal Drake secured by ID. It's going to be the first major objective secured as well. Grubbies are going to be up in just a couple of seconds, but that is going to be a nice bit of extra damage. Notably, as I do like to keep track of which souls are and are not on the table, the Infernal Soul, one of the best ones in the game, is not going to be on the table. And it is also going to be the Ocean Soul next. So two of the better ones are going to be off the table. So the Drakes may end up being more or less of a factor here because both the best ones in the game are on the table and some of the worst ones on the game are still on the table. So that's something to keep note of. Meanwhile, Grubbies are up, but it doesn't look like either team are really pushing towards them. Trundle is right next to him. Actually, in fact, both junglers are now sitting on that top side, so we might see a little bit of scuffle for them after they finish up these quick clears.
Yeah, and with the Nocturne Paranora being up, it's a little bit of an easier time for Nation to actually get into these fights, whether it be top or mid. And we do see Syndric coming up to this top side for the Grubbies as well. And here comes Benny going in, but there's the Paranoids, and they're telling us away, and so is Frozen Forever. They have to get the hell out of here, but they continue trying to fight. Rutledge without the Stormbringer for another couple of seconds. Benny about to fall down. Rutledge is able to slay him down, and there's the Solar Flare, but it's not even going to realistically be needed, as ID going to pick up the first 3 kills of the game here, and Dilly going to have to be a little bit careful because they know he's all by himself into this bot side, as Rep looking like maybe wanted to kind of do something, but it's going to try to just get this wave in to punish as much from Frozen roaming over, but still, ID with a lot of momentum within the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, there is some trade-off, but the rotate back into a position is really good. They're going to get those grubbies for practically free. We did see Rep drop a ward there on the chicken so they can get a little bit more information on Nation as they go for their next clear. Meanwhile, we do see this bot lane getting pushed in. The Field of Warfare was secured by ID on top of those grubs, so it's definitely still in their favor overall, but Mint are taking the wins where they can. it is just rough now that both this Volibear and this Nocturne have a kill each. Some of their bigger carries are now going to start coming online if they're not shut down here soon. Though both have bounties, so I'd imagine Mint would want to try to play around them and secure those early on.
Yeah, Nation so far, Feast or Famine. He's currently feasting quite well, up 10 CS onto Beanie here, up 1-0-1. Like I said, has that shutdown. So it's quite a bit ahead when it comes to momentum kind of around the map here. And a quarter left up onto his Paranoia here, so he's going to be looking around to see what he can't do and affect some more change around this map. As Dilly is just doing honestly fine considering he was left by himself, but that's kind of what happens when you have this smolder lane. It's not really much you can really do with this. Rutledge gonna run right into Daro, is gonna proc the passive here, and so far he's losing on that trade, but with the lethal tempo procced up, with the chomp, with the heal, Daro is not gonna want to try to contest anything more than that. He's just gonna want to throw his cleavers as Frozen, constantly taking so much poke from Rept into this mid lane.
Yeah, it has been a very relatively even lane, despite the fact that Frozen has been getting poked out pretty hard. Obviously, the CS is
There's the
even
Cinder
going
Blade,
pretty
there's the stun. Paranoia going to be used up, and there's Fluffer onto 2! Nice! Stun coming out from Zindrick here, and even with the flash, not going to be enough. Mom's not going to be able to save you either. Oh no, as a kill going to go over to Dilly, finally getting one for himself there. Nice stun coming out from Zindrick.
Yeah, and that's scary. Dilly has kind of been the all-star for this team. Obviously, Rutledge not getting as many kills this time around. And Frozen has also been a little bit muted when it comes to kills this season. Dilly has been the one picking it up. Just for reference, at least according to our stat sheet, Frozen already only has 4 kills so far this split. Dilly has 32. So getting Dilly a kill now, and the fact that they're in such an advanced position map-wise, so they're going to be able to capitalize on it, that is probably the scariest thing that has happened so far for Mint. If they allow Dilly to get fed, if they allow them to get online, this game can go sideways real quick for them. That being said, both teams are
up here. Nation is on his way, but VB Warren is player. Rept is also on his way. That's a fear. Double knockup coming off his player to scatter the weak onto 2. Shutdown going over to Beanie. Zendrick the next target. TP from Rutledge on the way. Dilly is now here. Sumo autos from Zendrick. A lot of damage going on to Beanie. He's going to fall down. Stormbreaker going to keep Rutledge alive. Display the next target. Rept trying to do as much damage as possible. Stun right up to VB Warrior. Leech power not going to be there. One more kill for the Ducks fan. It's not there. That's going to be a quadra kill to the Bear. Eating up all of Mint Gaming here as it's 8-1 in favor of ID.
You know when you say, like, have you ever seen that movie or that story where anything a man says comes true? I feel like I'm the opposite of that. Anything that I say gets counteracted. I say, you know, Rutledge hasn't gotten all that many kills. He's more of a solid top laner, but he's just a really good one.
Wrong side. There's the flash, the chop, but the stun is there. Frozen, can you get out? The Paranoia defensively turning off the lights. Beanie says it's too spooky, decides to walk away. Nice defensive ultimate coming out from Nation. Frozen Forever almost greeted a little too much. Lives and gets the flash off the Trundle as well.
Yeah, but I say Rutledge doesn't have a lot of kills. Next thing you know, picks up a quadra kill, 5-0-1 on the board. That also sets up this Drake for them. VB Warrior and Displayer are in a position to maybe have an impact, but they're going to be running into this ID side, which is really strong right now. They do not have the means to really intercept. Yeah, they're just going to show some presence, try to slow it down a little bit, but they're going to get that Drake for practically free now. So Ocean and the Infernal are gone, and it is going to be Hextech, which is the best soul in the game. So those Drakes have become vitally more important.
Go for a little bit of a trade here. A lot of damage coming from Dara, but that's a big heal. But Beanie here, with the ultimate coming up for the Trundle, I don't think it's gonna be enough. Maybe though. Trundle doing not doing enough damage. Rutledge doing so much. Oh my goodness, that's bladed through and King there. Leash power on to Frozen Forever and Rept. That finally able to get the solo kill. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point with how the lane was going. Frozen Forever is constantly living at like below half HP, and once Rept got that Blackfire torch, yeah, Frozen. There's just gonna be a point where he was just gonna get one shot there, but topside Rutledge able to go for a 1-for-1 there. The Bork doing a lot, going for Bork instead of the typical Cosmic Drive. So I would say doing a lot there is definitely the reason why he was able to survive long enough, especially with that lethal tempo. And honestly, if he got one more chomp off right onto Daro, honestly, could have been a 1v2, and he would have been a double.
Yeah, but that being said, to kind of take a look at the game state, obviously Otacon is going to be on that bottom side as there's been a lot of fighting in and around that Drake pit area, but that first turret was secured up on the top side. So Mundo, on top of getting a 500 gold bounty, also got all that gold for the turret. Though it's kind of in vain when it comes to the feats, because that was secured by ID, obviously picking up the feat of warfare early on, but they also were able to secure both of those drakes and the full grubbies, which means they got all of the jungle objectives that they need. So those feats of strength are over to ID, though Mint game state wise have leveled a little bit. We do see them start Shelly here though, and I don't know if Mint is one, aware of it, or two, even able to do anything about it if they knew. The answer is no. It's gone before I think they even had a chance to realize where everyone was. So Shelly is in play. So ID, on top of getting the feats of strength there, are going to be able to help level out the difference in turrets now.
Yeah, and Mint's not even in a most terrible. Oh, there's Sulfur going to be dodged out. Paranoia going to be flashed away, but there's the fear. Mom's not going to be enough to save you. Zenith Blade is there. One more tick with the Chaos Storm, but Frozen actually fall down here. Nation going to be chased down by the troll. Oh, the flash right over the wall, but you got Mundo chasing after you. You're gonna be chopped up most likely by Trundle. How you going to taste? Let's find out. Beanie says good. Able to pick up that one. And that's gonna be a 1-for-2 in favor of Mint for what looked like ID was gonna be able to walk away with a free kill. As Rutledge gonna be the next target. Beanie on his way. Let's see if it's gonna be enough there, even with the Trundle ultimate. I don't think it's going to be enough. There's Stormbreaker. There it is. Gonna fall down. Not enough healing. In long term, 3 kills for only 1. Mint's able to just swing things around here.
Yeah, and now we see a little bit of the fragility of ID's position here, because while they are ahead game state wise, a lot of that has been off the back of Rutledge and that quad kill that they got earlier. But now they're playing really smart. Mint is, they're taking those 2v1s on the Rutledge. So Rutledge, while they're still able to do damage and they were able to secure a kill in that 1v2 that they had earlier, they are still falling. So Rutledge is starting to not be as ahead as possible. Meanwhile, the whole rest of ID only has a kill apiece. And Mint has matched them with everyone except for the Braum. So everywhere else
is here. Frozen does have flash Chaos Storm. I don't think it's going to be enough. Going to be slowed up by the pillar. There's the cleaver. Gonna flash, but with one chop with the slow, think it's going to be enough. There's the cleaver, and Dar is able to pick up that one. He says, hold this, please. And Frozen gonna fall, and again, gonna be caught out being a little overextended trying to get some money into this boss fight, trying to pick up that tower. And you didn't fall last time for it, but definitely fell for it this time.
Yeah, and that being said, the gold difference, it was pretty far in favor of ID.
Not so right onto BB Warrior here. One more auto, there it is, going to be stunned up. Not really much going to be followed up there. Nation was within range for the ultimate, but it's just so hard to really do anything with the peel from display. But Daro and Rutledge once again going after each other. Zendra going to be tagged up, but Spire not in a position with speed. TP coming out from Rep. So if round to 2 once again, Zendrick never misses. The Paranoia is going to go right onto VB Warrior. Nice scout of the week! Unleash power! Dilly's going to be down! And Frozen going to be the next target. Beanie going to switch right onto Zendrick. Chomp going to be slowed up. Daro with the cleaver. Can he find it? Not even needed. Scout of the week right onto Nation. There's the tag from Displayer. Going to be slowed up. 2 more autos for the stun. Daro on the other side of the wall. 1 more auto. I think it might fall up. There's the flag. There's the stun. Going to fall down. Scout of the week! Displayer going to be able to pick up that one. Mint winning the rights to the Drake here as Frozen going to desperately try to push down to this mid lane. See if he can't get anything, but Repped on the way. He has to back off. Mint Gaming are just playing these fights better.
Yes, they are, and they turn the odds into their favor. Now they have the gold lead. They picked up the first Hex Tech Drake, so they've interrupted the Drake stacking that ID have been doing, and have now started picking up those Hex Tech Drakes, which are arguably even better than the two that ID have secured. So yeah, Mint, who were struggling but weren't out of the game, have taken control of the wheel of it, and now they're in the driver's seat. And it's looking a little bit scary because even after all that fighting, it was so heavily in favor of Mint. We are still in a position where the only person on this ID team that could practically pull the team to a victory is Rutledge. And that being said, Otacon is up, and they almost certainly desperately want it. But because it's on the bot side, they need to have Rutledge down there. It does look like we are going to see a bit of a brawl as all 10 members of both teams are going to be in and around the area.
No flash.
No.
He's gonna be able to dodge out from that. There's attack coming up from this player. Couple more autos for the stun, but the rest of ID is here, and that's going to be stunned right on to the Grom here. This player has to get the hell out of here. Zindra taking a lot of damage, slow round to 2. Zindra never misses though. Pendo into the back line is going to be able to pick up the Grom, but Nature going to be the next target. At least Power's going to fall. Dilly going to try to hose down. Beanie is going to be able to pick it up. Otacon is assigned to join in this party. And it is going to be the jungler falling down for ID, but 3 for Mint are going to fall as well. But still, Rept, VB Warrior, both still alive. A lot of range, a lot of damage between these two. And with Otacon shredding the resistance from ID, they might be able to stop it. They're gonna try. Dilly taking low. There's a scatter. We got Frozen Flash coming out from Rutledge. Flash answers from Rept to make sure he stays alive. Rutledge taking a lot of damage. A lot of low health bars from ID. Are they gonna be able to pick it up? Almost but fall down. BB Warrior takes it away. Frozen gonna try to chase him down, but he has to be careful. ID can't do anything. Mint walk away with a heist.
Heist of the century, that is. They do get something, ID that is, in the mid lane as they get that first turret, but what a choice to try to stay on that Otacon instead of leaving. Obviously, Mint weren't going to be able to secure it, but they just sit on it, trying to poke out what was left of Mint while also securing the kill. Meanwhile, they had no support because Zendrick was just way too low. Dilly couldn't get too far in either because of their health bar, and it just leads to tragedy as they try to put too many eggs in too many baskets. In the end, they all fall and crack. And now Mint, despite the fact that they lost that fight, are still in a pretty strong start. A lot of gold did go over to ID though, so now they do have the lead by about 1,000. But game state wise, I think Mint still have the edge.
Mint's feeling so good after that. And I'm almost positive that was technically a stack for VB Warrior. I think he got it with his Q. Pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a little bit of damage going on to Rep there is going to be a little bit of surprise attack from the bush there, but yeah, throw an extra stack in there for VB Warrior's trouble. He's going to be able to take that just away from ID, and with the extra increase of the XP with the Adaptive Force, and now with that passive, with the slow, AoE slow and damage, which just allows a little bit more utility and just peel ability onto Mint's roster. I mean, if you're hardcore diving and you're all clumped up, just killing one person, that's so much just damage percentage going out and a lot of slow, which just helps every which more to kind of get VB Warrior and Rept away from a lot of like ID's War Machine with their dive that they have. So Mint, really nice heist from them. As able to barely pick that away as ID now looking for something into the jungle with Duro. Not going to be quite stunned up because of the passive. There's a Krakenora and Mundo's going to be going onto, but with the pass or the ultimate proc, that's a lot of healing, but there's Swiffer for the stun. Can they deal enough damage? I don't think so. A lot of damage is going to fall down. Daro still healthy as all hell, and Frozen Forever is going to be chased down. He's going to be the next one up. Zendrick going to be the one instead. Going to be first to flash. This player about to fall down. Nature going to be able to pick up that one, but Zendrick, there he goes. Dilly trying to hose the ball down, but he might be able to get out alive, but nope, going to be chopped up by the Trundle. Double kill going over to him, and it's just scrap after scrap. It's going to be 3 for 2 in favor for Mint. The bot lane's gonna fall down with the bot lane answer from ID, but Rutledge also falls down. They tried to throw everything at Daro, but he's Mundo. Come on, guys. He goes where he pleases. He is definitely not as caught out as you think he is. And he wasn't even level 16 yet.
Yeah, he also now has Warmogs.
Oh,
and the
TP.
Heart
That's
Steel.
Rutledge TP. That's 3 members of
Oh.
mid.
Oh, no.
He doesn't even have Flash or Stormbringer. He's going to stun up Beanie, but I think it's be enough. Unleash Power is there. Rutledge going to fall down. What a blunder there. Yeah, without the engage and a lot of your frontline there, I'm pretty sure this Hextech just goes over to ID, but Nation does have the ultimate, does have the smite, is going to pop it here. Frozen Forever onto the flank here, is going to go ahead and go right onto the Braum here, but about to stun, not going to fall down yet. There's right onto Reb. Xenoblade going to land, Reb going to fall down. Chaos Storm doing a lot there, but he's going to end up falling down himself. Beanie doing so much. Dilly going to be the next target, going to be stunned up. Daro doing so much, about to fall down. The rocket jump not going to be enough. VB Warrior just tossing out his spit left and right, and it's on fire. And Dilly is not going to be enough to hose it all down by himself. Call the rest of the fire department. And Mint only losing 1, and they're just going to run right over to Baron, and they're looking to wear purple.
Yeah, they'll practically get it. And now the what ifs come into play. What if Rutledge was there in that fight? What if Rutledge got the flank and didn't get caught out so quickly? All of those are going to play in their mind as now Mint have secured a second Drake, and they're going to get this one for practically free. This player is just sitting as a wall between this bear and this Baron, and it won't make a difference either way as it does fall. They wear purple, and the recalls, I imagine, they come out here. Yep, that's practically everyone. They do chase a little bit, but they should get out fine. Yeah, there's no range for them. They have no vision there either. So they're all going to get out. It's going to be a full reset. I think all 5 were up for that Baron as well. So even the player that they took down on the Dragon Pit is going to be wearing purple as well. So ID, it's kind of crumbling around them now. It's about a 3k gold lead for Mint. They've leveled out those Drakes. The towers are practically even. They technically, ID still have that mid-tier 1, but saying have that mid-tier 1 is a bit of an overstatement. It's hanging on by a thread. But yeah, it's now so firmly in favor of Mint here. They have the siege capabilities. They have the waves as well crashing in. So this is going to be rough for the next couple of minutes for ID. They need to hold strong, and they need to wait for this purple to drop, and then have a really solid team fight, preferably with all 5 members there.
Looks like gonna land up Daro into the flank here. Yep, that's
Oh,
half
geez.
Dilly's HP bar. Daro gonna pop his ultimate. They're gonna try to focus him down. They might actually be able to finally get him. Nope, there's the ultimate. There's the HP, but his player might fall down himself. Stormbreaker to the front line. Unleash Power is there, and there's the just execute coming out from VB Warrior and Ref there. Double execute. Frozen Forever gonna be flash scattered the weak, and he's gonna be scattered all over the grass. Nation the next target. Smite up to Chomp. Smite answered. There's the Fear Tether with the Stride Breaker. Nice spell shift for Scout of the Week. But, yep, you only got the support. You lost your mid. You lost your top. Support dead for 5 seconds.
There's a wave here.
And Mint are looking in the game here. Dilly gonna be pillared up. Nation without his ultimate.
Yeah.
He's definitely in the famine state right at this point. But, yep, there it is. Game number 1, 2 Mint.
Am I going to be an ID doomer? Absolutely not. Am I sad for ID that they've lost game 1? Absolutely, because I think they actually did really good to start that game. Am I happy that finally a Nocturne has lost while I'm watching them? Yes, I am. I am finally justified in my statements. Nocturne was just not the pick. They
Hold
got
up
the
their
value,
sword.
and they did pretty well. But man, it just did not have the impact, especially later in the game, that they would have liked. I mean, I say later, it was only a 27-minute game. It was not crazy long. I really think the Nocturne could have been something a little bit different. I think the difference in this game possibly was the draft. But yeah, No, Mint taking that game very strong. They obviously had a little bit of a rough start, but once they got control of that game, they took the wheel and they never let go. They just continued to snowball and pile on and pile on and pile on and never give ID enough room to breathe. I mean, they won the game. There was, I think, 3 members of ID still left standing, but they couldn't do anything because there's just a wall of mass in front of them that they couldn't manage to kill before the Nexus fell.
Yeah, and going back to the whole Nocturne thing, justified for all but one man. One man has to lose with it and actually perform bad on it. Deathmaster Pones. The day that he performs bad on stream with it, that's the day where it will really change. He is the OG, constantly having you being like, I don't think it's gonna do this game. An elimination game, just for him to
Oh
come
yeah,
out, swinging with it. So
it
Deathmaster
still
Pose.
haunts my dreams.
Yep,
Still haunts my dreams.
he's the next one to look out for Nocturne. But yeah, Mint. They were down 9-1, and they
Yeah.
were down the feats as well, and a lot of pressure over the map of ID. It was crazy how the latter half of that game went. You wouldn't even have thought that Mint had that much struggle into the early game, because it was just constant Mint, and Mint. And the only time it was like kind of, I would say, close was that Atacon fight, but they were able to steal it away. VB Warrior throwing out his Q or his auto W, a combination of all of it with Rep slinging the spells, able to take it away. And after that, ID just could not get a foothold.
Yeah, absolutely. So massive heads up for Mint securing map number 1, but that, again, it is a best of 3 as it's been for the last 2 splits. So Mint securing first blood here, but it is certainly not over. Don't go anywhere. We are going to send it to a brief intermission to allow the players to get drink, use the bathroom, all that, and we'll be back with game number 2 in just a couple of minutes.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to game number 2 between Mint and ID. Got a side swap going on here. Mint onto the blue, ID onto the red side. I expect the bans not to change really all that much here. A lot of what was kind of like taken away from the game 1 series, game in general wasn't really anything that was going to be banned out for either of these teams. There's definitely a lot more things they want to get rid of, like the Mill, like the Anivia, like the
Oh
Tom
yeah.
Kench. Yep, there it is. Right on cue,
Oh
but
yeah.
Mint, one game away for greatness to really show that like their trades worked.
Yeah, it would be a statement, honestly. I mean, obviously they were struggling for the last 2 weeks, so this would be a really solid bounce back game. It would really help with the team chemistry starting off on a win, and it would really shake up the foundations of the league. If ID go down 0-2 to a newly formed Mint roster, that would be very telling of the current state of ID and would really make them question as they still have to play that final boss game, who are the second in the standings right now, only behind TD because they're a game behind. So that would make that game to kind of help out their standings much more difficult going up against one of the best teams in the league. So yeah, Mint in the driver's seat. They're in control of their own destiny here. Meanwhile, ID are going to be a little bit desperate, trying to bring this to a game 3, hope to secure the win late. But you are absolutely correct. It looks like we are going to see the exact same bans across the board. In the fearless draft system, that is not too surprising. It's very, very helpful to just kind of keep the champions that you want off the board, even if there's a champion you're a little worried about. If you give them up in game 1 or game 2, you know you're not going to have to deal with them in any of the other ones. So it's a lot more prevalent to ban away comfort picks rather than picks that you're worried about running into. So bans not going to be changing all that much. We do see picks come out very quickly though. Jinx on the B1, not surprised, still very high presence champ. That's kind of the bog standard pick, and it has been for the whole year. Meanwhile, Ziggs is a choice, could be APC or in the mid roll. Xin Zhao though, very solid pick. Ari as well. Those are 2 very high presence champions. So 3 of the 4, not surprising in the slightest. They are some of the best champions in the current meta.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jinx not really gonna go away, I would say, anytime soon. I mean, the meta just fits her perfectly at the current moment, and the R1, R2 picks from ID were almost instantaneous as well, so they were ready to pick those. They were like, that's what they wanted. That's what they're gonna go with. So a little bit of seems like ID kind of know what they wanted to, at least play into the mid or ADC and into the jungle, and Mint going with, I would say, probably the most meta thing that you could see so far. Ari, Jinx, and B3 going to be the Jax. That's also going to be a continuation, right? Like, that was hugely
Oh yeah.
meta, especially last split, especially in competitive play. It was seen all the time, and Thresh looked like it'd be the hover, and there it is. I'm excited. I'm ready to see some Thresh, and if Zendrick can play, Leona the same, way they could play Thresh, I expect a lot of good things here.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about in the after the in between the lobby that despite the fact that they lost, Zendrick was a really all-star player. Oh, sorry, never mind. Oh yeah, no, ID. I saw ID and I thought, no, of course they didn't lose. It's ID. That's my fault. No, but Zendrick, even though they lost last game, was insanely crucial for them and was constantly getting like 2 or 3 man ults. They were performing out of their mind, even though the rest of the team lost. So Thresh, another really high playmaking champion that could really have a big impact. I'm with you. I am super excited to see them rock up on that. We do see target support bans, which is a choice. I don't know how good of a choice that is, but very clearly they don't want to give Mint those options. I guess it would definitely hinder the Jinx quite a bit, but rather than target the jungle, I don't know why they wouldn't just try to pinpoint and lock down these jungle options, but said they go for the support. They are going to have this pickup here for that R4. We do see the ASOL go away, which is a... Oh, never mind. That's from it. Sorry, I was gonna say they have an Ari. Why are they banning the Aurelion Soul? I realized it's because they already have their mid pick. I'm going crazy, Sheep. You take it. I'm going crazy over here.
Yeah. um, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out on Cindric here to see how much he can really affect change with the same way that he was able to do with the Leona pick into game number 1 here. It's definitely going to be very hard for ID, I would say, in general, so far to kind of play into this composition. I mean, Mint just has. I mean, this is like. I feel like I'm watching like LCK right now. What is this? We're gonna get a Gnar? Now, this is crazy. ID, like you said, decided to go with the support ban, so it seems like. I want to say in general, more so, I want to say they're banning to stop the Jinx from being in a comfortable position more so than Displayer being in a comfort pick. So they're more leveraging on the Jinx pick than, throwing anything else into this top side. But yeah, there's the Nara pick up here, and yeah, this is with the Maokai as well. Wow, what is going on here? So
That's a get down, Mr. President composition if I've ever seen one. You have a Jax, Gnar, and Maokai in front of the Jinx and Ari. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of engage with that Gnar and Jax, but man, that is just 3 big men standing in front of 2 really squishy hyper carries, trying to create as much space for them as they can, as well as keep ID away from them. That being said, they do have a Zhao and Aurora, so we'll have to see how effective they are in that. But yeah, no, that is very much a get down. I guess get down Mrs. President, seeing as the 2 carries are Ari and a Jinx.
yeah, and with the Maokai support, I mean, I'm assuming Maokai support. I would hope it's not a Jax support.
You never know. You never know, man.
But yeah, in general though, with the Gnar pick into this top side, I mean, Gnar is just one of those champions that in general, if you have someone that knows how to play Gnar, you're going to have a good time. You're gonna at least go even at the very minimum, if not just outright win the lane, or just at least out prio. And in general, with how ID kind of has their comp built, I mean, it's Aurora mid. It is going to be Ziggs Thresh into this bot side, and not saying that's the most horrendously awful thing, but Thresh Ziggs not the pair up I would be wanting to see all that much. There's just a lot of clash for what ID really need to do into this mid roster. It's kind of hard to say. They really don't have that many options to kind of stop the War Machine from it. But I could be completely cursing this. I can't tell you how many times I have said that this team has done such a phenomenal draft after having such a good game 1, just for them to just get rolled into game 2, even with a really good draft. So I could be completely caster cursing Mint right now, and we could be going into game 3 here in about 30 minutes. But I do believe that Mint is just gonna have a way easier time than kind of, with the draft alone than what ID kind of has going on here. It seems like it's a lot of comfort picks for ID.
Yeah, and even those that are not on their comfort picks for Mint, it just feels like those champions that are selected are, I don't want to say easier, but they're the level in which they need to get to have win conditions available to them are just a lot easier. There's a much clearer road forward for every single one of these champions on Mint to get ahead early. Meanwhile, there needs to be a lot of setup. There needs to be a lot of presence coming out from pretty much everyone on ID. And if any one lane kind of falls behind, I feel like they're going to struggle a little bit. So I'm hoping we see ID once again play towards that early game, take the advantage early, and just try to capitalize on it. Where last time they let it slip a little bit, if they could just take the winning conditions that they had in the early, transport them over to the mid, and just continue to keep the snowball going rather than let them slip off of some weaker fights from them. I think it would be a much cleaner game, and they will absolutely have a means of winning. But I think you're pretty much nail on the head. This feels very much like almost an LCK lineup for the side of Mint, which at that top level, most of those champions are not as crazy mechanically. They're not as crazy when it comes to the composition of what they intend to do because the game plan is simple. They have what they want to do. It's a very front to back composition. There's a lot of CC, there's a lot of tankiness, and they're just going to blitz through the front line and they're going to get to those back carries. And I don't know if ID's composition has the means to kind of stop that. So I agree. I'm going to be leaning Mint here. I think they've clearly won the draft, but you'd never know. This is also a completely different tier from LCK. So chaos does tend to ensue down here. So you never know. Someone might just go absolutely buck wild on ID and take us to game 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at the roster for a minute. I swear I could see T1 drafting this. Like, I swear, this is like I could see
Yeah.
it. I could see T1
This
next
is
to
like
Jordan top. I could see the owner jungle. I could see Fakerman. I could see Guma Carrier play this. It's like it's straight up T1 here. So Mint with a really good setup into the draft as opposed to ID, but ID still not out of it yet. Game number 2 coming up real quick here after this intermission. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, welcome back to game number 2 between Mint and ID. Mint gonna be on the blue side this time, ID onto the red. ID looking to tie up the series 1-1. Mint looking to close it out with an absolute just statement with a 2-0 against the reigning world champions and just world champions. I say that as we were talking about the competitive game scene. That just came out. Reigning world champions. Yep, ID won worlds, guys. It was there, I swear. But the previous split for LFA, reigning champions for that. And granted, obviously, they don't have everybody from the roster from the previous split, but they do have 2 really strong members from that split. So ID, they really need to find out something. They need to at least bring to a game 3, even if they don't run out into the series, because I mean it's a real big mental play for them right now.
Yeah, that being said, neither team yet again want to hand anything over to their opponents. They don't want to give any advantage early. So we do see those 5 points come across both sides, just kind of staring each other down most of the way, not even really looking at each other, just being around entry points into their own jungle. Yet again, we just see those 2 on mid kind of dancing with each other. We do finally see the waves crash. Game really gets started yet again, and we're going to see a very similar thing here. I think last game, obviously, 2 really strong hyper carries. They were gonna play late into the game. Both had pretty strong range. Could be a lot of poking. Meanwhile, yet again, we see that Aurora and that Ari. I think 2 very similar in terms of the roles they play in their team, even the style of mages. So yet again, I'd imagine this mid lane is going to be rather even until we get to the mid to late game when we start seeing more influence from the jungle.
Yeah, Frozen ate a lot of damage there. Is going to have to chunk up a potion. VB Warrior is going to have to use his one and only potion pretty early on, but they're going to be able to pick up a level 2 first tier. Displayer not quite in a position, doesn't want to flash for the engage. But yeah, Frozen decided to go for the minions there into the mid lane and ate so much damage. So far, Rep really riding the momentum into game number 2. Rutledge going in for the dash, not going to be able to find the flip back. A half HP, take it down to a third, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, despite the fact that it's a new game, it looks like Rep continues to kind of have Frozen's number. Obviously, was really struggling, even though they kept the lane in a pretty neutral state. They were.
It's going to land right on Displayer. That's a lot of bombs going under there as well. A lot of damage, about half HP, pop a potion. And, I mean, Zig's going to be very annoying with the constant tossing. But once VB Warrior gets a couple levels into that queue, once it's set up for Displayer to engage, I mean, it should equalize a little bit for Mint. Especially with Bandy going to be on this boss side. But unlike last game, both junglers are going to be on the same side. So we might be able to see a 3v3 into this boss side.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, does look like the Jax is going to forego.
Looking for something there. There's the exhaust. There's a flash coming out. Flash pushing towards it. There's the counter strike. I can even find that stun. Nice bomb there to push them all away. Cindric with the flash. Nation on his way for the counter gank, but that was really well done by Cindric and Dilly, making sure they both live. And Displayer not quite able to get the pushback with his Q. So Cindric gonna live, not even have to use his exhaust while both sums expended for Displayer.
Yeah, Dilly with the outrageous play, that bomb perfectly well placed to just knock everyone away. If it's even slightly misplaced and someone gets either knocked towards them or doesn't get pushed away, they're going to be able to go back in and try to secure that kill. But instead, everyone's pushed away. The nation is there to support, so they have to back away. And it just is so costly for Ment, and it comes at very little cost for ID. So that will be a great start for them. Again, no kill yet, so it's still very even. It's not going to decide the lane, but it's definitely going to help them out just a little bit.
Yeah, I will say Nation did actually forego his blue buff to walk over to that, so he won't be able to answer into this top side pop for a possible double scuttle. So a little bit of nice for Beanie there to make sure that he's going to be completely behind as mid lane. Nation looking for something right onto Rep there. 1 auto, 2 auto, 1 more for the knockup. Nice charm onto Frozen, but it's going to be enough. Rep couldn't forego the flash. Nation taking a lot of damage from the tower, but it's not going to matter. First blood going to go over to Frozen forever as getting a much needed breathing room in general into this lane matchup. Oh, flash over the wall!
Over the wall!
With the slam down, queuing over, using Frozen Forever as a leap pad to get out of turret range. He's the bunny here, not you, Frozen Forever, as he just hops away. Wow, he definitely heisted away with that one. Death Sentence right onto VB Warrior, dealing a lot of damage. There's the barrier. Display going to be the target there. Zendrick running out of mana, so is Dilly. TP coming in with Frozen. A lot of going on there in a quick succession, but Beanie breaking the ankles of Nation there.
Yeah, that is going to level out the kills as well, 1-to-1 now. So still very low kill counter for what we're kind of used to here, just 6 minutes into the game. That being said, level practically across the board. Technically a little bit of a gold lead for ID, but insane playing from Beanie there. That is going to help them out quite a bit. Both the junglers now have their first real big components, i.e. being Tiamat and Sheen. So their damage is going to start coming online, at least their early game. So the junglers, yeah, I would expect to see them continue to have a big presence in those lanes. Top lane has kind of been left on a jungle and has been practically level, despite the fact there's a bit of a CS gap in favor of Daro. So I would not be surprised if we see a little bit of presence from Nation up there to help get this Urgot at a bit of a nicer spot.
Yeah, definitely is. ID going to be looking for the trade here. Beanie is going to be on his bot side, so it is a possible answer here. It looks like it's going to be a ward over the wall from Displayer. Beanie going to cancel his recall. Rep trying to clear this wave out and see if he cannot answer as well. Starting the walk down, he is going to be spotted out by that ward. And see if Mint is going to try to do anything here. It is going to be kind of hard. There's division, but I think they're just going to decide against it. The Death Sentence going to land right over the wall. Rep going to be the target. He does have the Spirit Dash, and there it is. I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to live right out of that. But still, Zendrick, look at him go. Hitting the Death Sentences. I mean, we said they pay attention to him, and he's definitely landing all these hooks. See if he can land this one as well. Of course he can. Being able to be pushed away towards... Oh, nice. Stun up there, though, under the tower, but still, good damage going to be used on from Dilly in Zendrick, but Displayer is going to kind of equalize it because of that tower damage, so nice little counter engage, I will say, going on there, keeping the lane a little bit equal and not putting VB Warrior in a bad position.
I believe also popped a potion, so got a little bit of extra health off of that too. So definitely he's going to be happy with that trade, able to stay in lane long enough to allow VB Warrior to get back and secure this wave. So very nice for them on the bot side, but that is going to be the Cloud Drake secured by ID. Definitely good. That would have pretty drastically helped the likes of the Jinx. So securing that early is going to be nice. That is also one of the stronger souls in the game. So that one will not be available. Next Drake up is going to be the Mountain, which I think both teams are going to really like. Obviously, the Jax, the Maokai, and the Gnar are all going to help and appreciate a little bit of extra tankiness. But for the side of ID, really only having one outright tank in that Thresh, I think they're really going to appreciate a little bit of extra support in that position and that tankiness for the Urgot and the Zimzao. So both teams are going to want to play for that. Drake Grubs are up. Oh, never mind. They were secured by ID. So ID actually has two of the major objectives that they need to secure feats of strength as well. So ID, in terms of positioning on the map and just game states, are slightly ahead, even if they're behind on gold.
Yeah, the gold difference is going to be all too much, and a lot of that is into this top side with the CS lead that Dara has. I mean, I said it, there's no kills here, but at minimum, if you have a Gnar that knows how to play Gnar, then he's going to go even at the very minimum, if not just have a CS lead pretty much guaranteed here. Beanie possibly looking for something. Destin's going to go right out to BB Warrior. Barry's going to be used, going to be forced to flash as well. Ultimate coming out display is going to flash away from that bomb. Super Mega Death are going to be flashed away. Dilly going to be the target. There's the Dark Passage to keep him alive. Flash Grandmaster Arms there, doing a lot of damage. TP coming down from Rutledge, and there's just going to be a jump away. And there's this zap to slow up Zendrick, and Rutledge is going to pick up the wave and say thank you to Dilly for falling down here, as he just gets to pick up all this solo gold and XP. As he might be able to pick up this plating as well, but into the top side. Daro's going to try to get some stuff for himself, and Nation's going to have to stop him up. One more auto with the tower plating, not going to be quite enough. Daro not going to be able to pick it up, but one more wave should be enough. So that's going to be TP expended for this top side. So Daro going to have free reign around this map with the TP advantage coming up in about 45 seconds.
Yeah, and they were able to get the one turret plating on the bot side, so that would be nice, but obviously Dara got it on the top side as well. So it's not all for naught, but definitely having that TP advantage will be nice, especially as, again, there's almost certainly going to be a Drake fight up in just a minute and a half. So keep note of that, especially as Mint are going to want to stop this so that they don't lose that feat of strength over to ID so early. So that is definitely something to keep track of. Meanwhile, in terms of kills and states for these players, obviously the 2-0-0 Jax is kind of becoming a problem, especially with the ability to lock down the gap close that Jax has in those smaller skirmishes. Jax could drastically turn the fight one way or another. So that is going to be something to look at, especially as we do see a little bit of presence here. Oh yeah, we have the mid laner coming down as well. This is going to be a 4-on-2 gank. It's going to be a matter of if the Jax can have some sort of say.
Yeah, there's Dark Path here. The flash coming out. Destin, of course, is going to land. World between worlds, and yep, this player is going to find himself on the wrong end of that one. Gonna fall down. Drake gonna be spawning here in about 25 seconds. This player will be up about 12 seconds from that as rotation back into the mid lane. Nation and Frozen gonna be looking for Rept here as VB Warrior, not quite by himself, does have Beanie still there. Charm up. Is going to take Nation a little bit of damage here. Death Sentence, of course, going to land. VB Warrior taking a lot of damage, but Beanie is here. Grandmaster Arms once again. Mega Death targeting a lot of damage. Going to Dark Passage right into the Flame Chompers here, and that's going to be 3 kills going over to Mint as Beanie's not done quite yet. Death Sentence going to land. Zendrick never misses, but it is more just going to be a statement than anything else. Smite coming out. Sun coming out of the Counter-Strike. And this player is now here. There's the ultimate to root up too, but they're going to decide against going in. They don't know where Frozen is, but Rept is close by. He has the ultimate, possibly looking for something, as Dar's going to be looking for something onto Rutledge. About to go Mega here, but with the Fear Beyond Death coming up, Dar's got to be careful of that execute. Drag is going to be started up by ID. Rep trying to do his best with the level lead over Frozen Forever. This player onto the backside here. Charm up Frozen. He's gonna be fine though. Rep taking a lot of damage, and I think ID did it. They win the rights over to the Drake. They're gonna be able to pick up the third objective. It is 1-1 for the feats. Whoever can get the next tower gets the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. So towers are now the thing to look out for, as well as the Drake. Oh my, is going to be yet another Hextech Soul. That's going to be huge, and that's also even better for Mint. Jinx is really going to appreciate that Soul if they can secure it. So obviously, it's a little bit back and forth now, but if they can take control in the mid game yet again, their Jinx might come online perfectly.
Beanie is close by. Does not have the ultimate. Rutledge is, though. He is going to be able to cancel it up. Nice buffer for him, but there's the flash. Minify try to find something right out to Daro, but the Fear Beyond Death is going to go right onto Beanie. I don't think that's the target he wanted. Pretty close on, though, with Rep there, just in case, for a little bit of insurance. As Nation possibly looking for something into this bot side. Zendrick gonna be hunting, gonna be prowling for those Death Sentence. Nation gonna be spending a little bit of time here, but he does have his top side that is up. So he, hope he can get something out of this. If not, he's gonna be really behind the curve here.
Yeah, absolutely. That tower is pretty weak. It's about at half health, so that is something to look out for. Gnar did get a nice chunk of that top side, so especially now with the turret plating falling, that top side is going to be a danger that ID need to look out for if they're trying to secure.
Something Zendrick with the Death Sentence. That's going to land. Display gonna be forced to fly. Zendrick, I cannot say this enough. He never misses. I just can't. I can't with this man. And there he throws it again, and it lands. It's an actual aimbot.
Another one. Just does not miss. But yeah, that is going to be huge on the bot side. That's going to give over a lot of pressure. Notably, didn't really get anything out of it. Well-timed flash from Displayer does mean that there's not much to play for. Jax is in the area, so maybe there's a world in which there's a gank from Mint. Otacon the positioning is going to be on this bottom side yet again. Not surprising, seeing as practically all the action has happened down on bot. As we do see pretty much everyone just kind of play for positioning here. Rifty is up, so that's something that teams are going to want to play for as well. We do see a little bit of vision from the side of ID, but nothing too crazy, no big investments quite yet. We do also have the Hex Gates
Zero
now
going to be used up. Zindra going to be the one ahead, so that Dark Passage is not going to be used to be able to keep him alive. Flash coming up in a couple seconds. It's not going to matter. VB Warrior able to pick up that one into the top side. Rutledge and Daro going to have a little bit of a score, but that's going to be all of a display about the fall down. World between worlds. Oh, Lunas is almost going to be enough. Beanie barely about to survive from that one. Frozen, not enough damage. The Luden's companion not able to do enough damage. That's not really a companion much there, as Rutledge and Daro gonna go for another scuffle. He's pushing him into Nation, and Daro's gonna be dashed away, but the Fear Beyond Death is gonna land. Can he get the Super Mega, not Super Mega Death Rocket, but Mega Gnar, my bad. He does have the ultimate. It is going to be Nation 1v1 into Daro here. There's the stun up. A lot of damage is going to go out, but with a couple more autos there, it is Shutdown going to go over, but still Daro able to make it a 1-for-1 here as Reb. Now looking for something onto Nation here. There's the Crescent Guard there to make sure he stays alive and possibly looking for a dive. No, they're going to decide against it as Beanie is just going to steal away his top side here. Krug's going to go away. Rep just going to take the license over from this top side. Pushes out, possibly looking for the tower here. As Mint, I mean, it's not really much of early game, but they're the ones with the lead earlier compared to last. As Frozen going to run right into Beanie here. Is going to be stunned up here. Going to be forced to flash over, but Beanie's just going to jump over with the ward. Frozen, one more auto. He's going to fall down on a rampage as Jax is. Oh my goodness, the Jax jungle is showing up big.
And that should just be the feat of strength as well, as that topside turret is dust. So Mint secure the feat of strength, the feat of warfare, and the turret. So
actually went
ID
over to ID. I think they got bot tower.
They got bot tower. I didn't even see them take it. Never mind. ID secure it then.
Display got to be careful. Is going to push Nation away, but that's slow down with the strike breaker. Going to be knocked up. Doesn't have the flash Rutledge on his way. He's just going to fall down. Dilly picking up that one. A little bit of mispositioning there, caught on the wrong side of the map there.
Okay, but yeah, no, so game state-wise, oh no, Daro. Oh, Daro, honey, no, you're going too far in.
That up, you're going to be dashed in. He does have the wall up, so... Yeah, they're going to decide against it. They do not want to run and stack right on top of the Gnar here, and they are looking for something there, not going to be able to quite get the stun off, but is going to pull him closer, force the flash up, taking a lot of damage. Taking about half HP. He's looking for a pop. Oh, engage coming out from Beanie. Don't think that's where he quite wants to be. Fear Beyond Death. There's the X gonna go off. Daro not gonna be in the fear range. Displayer with the ultimate to try to peel the team away. And Daro just trying to get as much damage out while they're running away as possible. This Drake stacking for ID. This is gonna be the third one, and there's no jungle. Mint's gonna lose it. That's 3 jungles, or not 3 jungle. 3 Drakes going over to ID. That's still a point for them.
And Rift Herald was able to crash this mid lane turret.
Oh, Rutledge, no, he just stayed a little too long, gonna fall down. Daro able to pick up that one. He's hunting now, and Drake still hasn't been taken yet, so Daro's gonna see what's going on over here. The smite is up. I don't think he's gonna be able to steal it away, but it is gonna be a fight that goes off. That's the distance to the backside of the displayer, but it's not gonna matter. Nation, the target going to fall down here. Daro able to pick up that one. Dilly and Zenja trying their best, landing a death sentence, of course he does, as VB Warrior trying to find a little bit of a flank position, but it's just going to be Mint backing off. They don't get the Drake. It's not going to be a heist like last time, but still, they do pick up an extra kill that they really probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, they should also secure this mid lane. It is very low. There's 3 members there. Yeah, Aurora's just going to have to back away. So. Oh, flank position?
Dara's gonna run into him. That's gonna be a slow, another slow with the zap, and yeah, nice little disengage coming out from Mint, able to land double slows here, but Rutledge is gonna go in with the E flash there. Daro though, with this pass about to come up here beyond death though, it is gonna be enough. They do pick up the kill, not on the member that they wanted, but the support is better than nothing. But it is gonna be a flash expenditure from Rutledge. Daro really needs to go back to base. He probably has a lot of gold to spend.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But we do see a little bit of a turn there for ID as they get something back from that a little bit of rough positioning. That being said, Mint still ahead on gold, which is a little crazy. It really does show the difference
Oh,
in
Rep now
depths
looking
here.
for something here. Beanie just
Oh,
getting a double stun to counter strike. Zendrick, Mega, that's Rocket! No! Why did you give it to him? Give him the snipe! It's gonna fall down. Beanie 5-1, Rep 2-1, 3-1 into this top side. 1-0 Jinx. I mean, it's just coming up green for Mint all across the board.
yeah, and we do see them make their way towards Atacon. I'd assume that is just a secure. It's going to come at the cost of this top lane, but I think they're going to take that trade all day. Obviously, they need to start taking some of these major objectives. They have not gotten any of them so far, but they're still ahead on gold and they're still ahead in positioning. So if they could just start securing those Drakes, if they start securing some of these objectives, the Otacon that they just picked up is a great start. They'll be doing a lot better into these fights and there'll be a little bit less back and forth. But that being said, ID are kind of clinging on to hope with those major objectives. So that's something they're going to want to keep fighting for, but losing that Otacon, definitely a little bit rough. The extra slowing capability is definitely going to help out Beanie. Jax, that gap closing potential and the ability to slow on top of that jump in is going to be very deadly.
We're looking for something onto Frozen here. Don't think he has his W quite yet. Is going to try to jump away with his E. Is going to be using the World Between Worlds.
Oh, wrapped. Oh, honey.
He's
Oh,
gonna run
no,
into two. Is gonna be able to throw it right into the bush. Is gonna be forced to flash. He did not want a chance not being able to use his R, so it is going to be a flash expended. So that is at least a summoner used. Good for ID, but definitely not what they wanted. They wanted a little bit more flash being used for Ari. Not that big of a deal considering he has Malignance, but still, it is better than nothing. It's just there's so many tools that Mint have that it's just so hard, even with these small wins, for ID to kind of find an angle without Mint just completely just outing themselves by mispositioning.
Yeah, absolutely. We are starting to get to that mid game as well. 3 Drakes secured. So we're going to start seeing teams not really looking for a win condition, but they're looking to start steam rolling that ball down the hill. Obviously, Mint technically are in the lead, but again, one really good team fight could level out this gold difference in favor of ID.
Okay, that's a lot of members. That's 3 members. That's a Trojan horse right there. Zendrick gonna be stunned up, and Nation's gonna go back in, but the Crescent Gun trying to keep him alive. Beanie taking a lot of damage. There's the Super Mega Death Bomb. That's a lot of words being put in together from different ultimates. Dilly gonna fall down here. Is gonna be slapped by the tree. Frozen. World Between Worlds here, and gonna be slowing up. Not going to fall, though. Just enough dashes to keep him alive. That was definitely a Trojan if I've ever seen one. As Dara gonna be looking at Frozen. Nice reaction time for Frozen to keep him alive. Slowed up. Displayer coming in though with the flank, but with the W just jumping in right into that Spirit Realm. Gonna keep Frozen alive. And to Mega Death,
Oh,
nope, he's good. I don't think that would have killed him. I don't think he would have been that. Yeah, not even level 16, so not even level 3 ultimate. Doesn't even have the IE yet, so.
The fear of God in him.
yeah. Canceled his back, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do see them continue to go for this hunt here. Yeah, they are going to take the lantern out. I would not blame them at all, seeing as they were getting hunted down by all 5 members. Drake is up, notably, so they're going to win this fight.
Damage onto Nation. That's it, it's right onto display. It's going to be flipped up, though. It's just going to do his best for as much damage as possible. Yeah, I mean, I would say you got to dodge those, but Zendrick just doesn't miss. So, I mean, I don't know. Is it more on the Zendrick being good or the players being bad? I think it's Zendrick being good. Is it going to go right onto 2? That's a lot of damage going onto Daro. And Rep going to be forced to ultimate the flash test. It's going to force the flash away from VB Warrior. As ID finding a little bit of swing here into their favor. They're not going to be able to quite get the soul. So it is going to be Mint denying that, but still able to find 2 on the back foot of that fight. So a little bit of breathing room for ID, possibly looking to be able to pick up this mid lane tier 2. They do have the Zig, so it is a lot of damage as Mint looking to rally up and defend.
Yeah, Thieves in the Night, in the process of them taking down Displayer, they just take that Drake as quickly as it came up.
For the
Decent
ultimate here, Nation
space.
into the flank here. He's going to be hooked up, though, but... Oh, nice cancel coming out from mid. Nation into the backside, though. Taking a lot of damage from Beanie, but is going to be fine with the flash. The War Between Worlds is going to put VB Warrior into the ground. He definitely saw the other end of that one. Underworld, more like, as Baron going to be the most likely target for ID here.
Yeah.
It is. Beanie's still alive, but let's see if they shred this enough. They don't have an ADC, but they might just have enough with Rutledge, with enough AP mages. Yep, I think they're going to shred it just fast enough for them to be able to pick this up. They should pretty much equalize the gold. They're still running towards it. Dark's picking up his Rage Bar. They might get it, but can they get out in time? This is a lot of mobility. There's the recall coming out. Are they going to continue? Darla's still looking. Oh, he just jumped over the wall and threw a Q. He would have stopped it, but not enough vision to show ID equalizing this game.
Yeah, massive for ID. Like I said, all they needed was one really good team fight to go their way. They had the buffs in hand. So now with the gold, just I wouldn't say it's level. It's still about 1.5 in favor of Mint, but that's nowhere near as bad as it was just mere minutes ago. So with the gold, a little bit more level, a little bit back into their favor. With all those extra buffs, it is now looking more and more scary for Mint, as they've not been able to get the control of this game that they had in game number 1. But that being said, there's still so much to play for here. There is really no clear winner, because we're seeing them swap back and forth where Mint will take a very good fight successfully. And honestly, I think it's been really rough the last 2 fights. This player, with a little bit of poor positioning, has been caught out really early and pretty much caught in a 4v1 position while the rest of their team just does not have the means to get to them. So if they could, tighten up their positioning, not have one of their players fall super early, Mint could still win out these fights and they could still take back control of this game. But ID, especially now with this Baron, they're definitely going to have the driver's seat for at least the next couple of minutes while they're wearing purple.
Yeah, and there's about 2.5 items for Daro and 2.5 for Rept. I'm assuming VB Warrior is sitting on gold for about half an item. So if Mint can get their carries onto these third items, it would mean a lot for them for a lot of these team fights. That's going to be a huge scale, and Beanie actually almost has the Zonias. He is sitting with the Seeker's Arm Guard, so he does have that stopwatch ready for this X5. Actually, he is backing right now, so I'm assuming he's going to probably be able to pick it up here. Yep, there it is. That's third item for him. So Jax is at 3 items here, getting pretty close with the rest of their carries. And if that is going to be the case, if they can get that before this next Drake fight, they're going to be set up really well to be able to possibly win this. It is Baron going to be falling down about 40 seconds. It's not going to be a huge push for them when it comes to getting objectives and for these towers, but it is going to be enough for them for that golden XP that they got for taking it down. Frozen going to have to be a little bit careful. He's going to dash right into him. The charm is not going to be there. It's down a little bit higher. World Between Worlds to keep him out. That's Flash coming out from the mid laner with just the ultimate expended from Rept. I mean, he should probably have it up. He isn't level 16 yet, but with the Malignants, we'll most likely have it up at least 10 seconds from that Drake spawn. And that is going to be the Flash being used from Frozen, so crucial summoner spell for I would say a crucial fight that's going to be coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that charm does land onto Aurora, that could be a completely different story there on the bot side. But they're able to get out and save it for the next fight. Again, like you said, the soul is going to be to play here. So both teams are desperately going to want it. We do see the TP coming out from Daro into that mid lane is going to put a lot of pressure. And they have taken control of that jungle area around the Dragon Pit, and they are going to start it.
Starting it up. Rutledge able to get his reset off. He is going to have to just TP there. Rep going to be the target. Doesn't have his ultimate quite up yet. They do pick up the Drake. Pretty sure this play's probably going to fall down as well. 2 traded over for the Drake. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world considering it's Hextech and they're on Soul Point, but that definitely could have gone a lot better for Mint. Rep just being caught out in a really poor position.
Yeah, it's where they did it again, and I think it is intentional. They're trading over deaths for the Drake, because obviously them getting caught up on those two players means they can't get to the Drake in time, and they have enough damage to just melt the Drake away. The problem is we're now getting so late into the game, these death timers have a big impact. They're just gonna take this mid-tier 3, and I don't think
it's right onto Dara. Is going to be jumped away to Sticks, is going to be used Crescent Guard to try to do as much damage to Dara as possible. If the passive is going to keep him alive, he's under tower. He's going to fall down, and Beanie's doing so much, buying so much time. Still with the Zonias, VB Warrior flashing in. Right onto Dilly. He's going to be zapped up, slowed down, repped into the backline with the TP. Beanie trying to chase down. He still has a stasis, but he's going to find everyone goes in, but Rep doing a lot of damage into the backline. Citric going to be the next one. Triple kill to Rep as he just rips through the backline of ID. Frozen forever, going to be frozen in fear as he just watches his team just get decimated here.
And there we go. That was the crack that they needed. They're now 2-3 on Drakes. They did secure the Otacon, so they have that in favor. They are down on turrets, though. That middle lane is very weak. But that being said, the turret situation for ID is not great either. So it's, especially now with no Baron buff on their hands, Mint are, I believe, in the lead, but it is so close. It is coming down to those plays. That flank from Rept was massive. Without that, I think ID mostly get away, and they kind of get away with murder, even though they do lose the Drake. So that flank is huge for them. It gives Mint the lead that they need. Obviously, it's still just under 2 minutes until the next Drake, so that's not really a threat, but there is a 15-second timer on this Baron. Both teams are going to want it. ID could close the game with it, so that could be the deciding fight of the entire game, possibly the series if it goes the way of Mint.
Yeah, and their item, crucially for V-War, is 75% crit, does have the rune on, so he's going to be shredding if ID do end up clumping up here. So, definitely going to be a prime target. There's so many prime targets for Mint. I mean, Beanie does so much, Rep does so much, VB Warrior does so much, Daro does so much here. He's going to try to pick up that ward, is going to be able to do so. Baron is definitely a name of the game here. Rutledge doesn't have TP, so it is currently 5 on the top side for Mint here. He's going to try to push in to try to apply pressure onto this bot side. We'll see if Mint can do anything with this to try to grab some type of prio. They are going to get a lot of vision into the enemy jungle, so that is going to be crucial. Baron is going to be started up. Rutledge is nowhere close by. His TP is not going to be up in time. They will shred this, and they do see it happening. Nation, without flash, doesn't have the paranoia. I'm pretty sure they're just going to go over. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket, not that. Mega Inferno Bomb. Too many words with similarities there. Going to keep on getting that mixed up, but it's not going to be enough. Rope between Worlds, Frozen Forever, going to be dashing in very aggressively on a rampage. Going to take down Rep. Rep didn't even have enough time to ult to get away, but that is going to be Baron going over to Mint. They do have the empowered recall, so they're going to go in, find enough time to maybe stop the inverter from falling down, but I don't think it's going to be the case. It is going to go over to ID, but I don't think much else can be done here. It is 4 Baroned up members, 30 seconds on Rep, Drake in 1 minute. That says it's on to the Jax. Zap going to miss. ID just going to get in the hightail out of here, pick up the enemy jungle, and just look to finally see if they can't pick up the soul.
That being said, they are going to have repped for it. There's still just about a minute left on the clock. So that also means that this next fight, if it's played properly, should be a 5v5, which I'm not surprised to see ID trying to play Deathflesh here. If they can try to get this death timer in position and they can keep Mint to be full strength here, they might be able to do something in the fight, but instead, it just looks like Mint's going to push down mid lane, and they're going to have to recall on this bot side because they can't give up more pressure than they already have.
I've got to be careful. It's going to be picked up there. Oh. And Fear Beyond Death, I mean, he just walked way too close to that. Gonna fall down, gonna get the ultimate from Rutledge, but I don't think that's gonna be enough. That's 8 seconds onto the Drake. It is gonna be recalls coming out for both these members of TP. It's gonna be a death push coming out from Mint. Gonna be found out here. Let's see if they cannot just burst this down, and that just might be the case. They might be able to. The Spire just gonna run into them to sacrifice himself. This time we can't blame him for doing it. That's 3 Hextech Drakes going over to Mint. 20 seconds onto Red. Are they even gonna have enough time to really do anything here? The Baron is still up for another minute. We're gonna see if they cannot just find a way to stop them from really doing anything here. BBWare is going to be caught out there. Going to be fall down the road between World's Flash use from Zinjix. So it is going to be 45 seconds on the Jinx. They're going to try something here. Rep this up. It is going to be a 3v5. Baron still for 40 seconds. Can ID close out the game here?
They do have the turrets left standing.
Cruz,
Oh, that hook is crazy.
There. Have to be careful. Tron barely gonna miss. It's gonna be the Mega Inferno Bomb. They're gonna have to clear out this wave. Beanie gonna go in to see if he can do it. He does have the stasis, not able to quite use it. Rep gonna go in. ID going for the next tower. Displayer trying his best. The Nexus is open. I think they're able to do it. ID. Oh, Daro with a triple wall up. Doing a lot of damage. I think the tower's gonna do enough. Come on, yes they can. ID tied the series 1-1.
By the skin of their teeth, I would just like it to be stated and shown here. The only difference is that there is an extra grub and an extra Otacon in favor of, or an extra grub for ID, an extra Otacon for Mint, and there was just 100 gold between them. You could have cut the tension in that game with a butter knife. My God, that may be the closest game we have had this entire split, including last split as well. That game was so back and forth. Either team could have won it. If that one player under the tier 2 in bot lane in that, second to last fight doesn't go down, they might not win there. Straight up. That was insanely close. ID dragged themselves over the line and claw victory. Is an insane game. Honestly, that's going to feel rough for Mint because they did practically everything that they need to do. They were winning in the mid game, but they just could not get the advantage. ID were constantly on their coattails until finally ID got enough grasp to trip them on the final hurdle and get past the line first. Woo! Okay.
Mint was just constantly mispositioning time and time again to just give these avenues for ID, and that was the only way for ID to really find anything with the composition that Mint has. The one thing that Mint, couldn't do to give the game over to ID, they were doing on repeat. Just really poor positioning on them, constantly getting caught out, and a couple of times it was definitely needed to stop, this player stopping the team from going into the Drake pit so that Mint can pick up and stop the soul point take. But still, there were still so many other times that it was just useless deaths. It was blunders. There was really no reason for them to be where they were at, which was just giving avenues, free gold, free just advantages in a lot of these team fights where they really didn't have any reason to, considering just how much of a chokehold Mint had throughout that game, just, right until the end of it. I mean, they were still down 2 kills, 20-18, and, they almost didn't end the game there. Jaro got a wall up onto 3 members, did so much damage, and if the Nexus survived for another second and a half, I think that game is completely different and Mint take it.
Yeah, if they get out of there, who knows? That they genuinely could have turned that fight and gone and marched all the way, at least probably to the Nexus turrets. But at that point, the gold they would have gotten from the kills and the turret, they would have taken the lead, and I think they would have kept control as long as the positioning didn't throw it. I really think, and I kind of like and I kind of hate the fact that they just kind of kept throwing this player into the wall of the enemy, which guarantee that they were secure the Drakes, but they were doing it so late into the game, they were constantly putting themselves in 4v5 positions, which meant they constantly were giving up pressure in that mid lane, because every time they would do it, ID would just go down mid lane and take a turret. They did it every single time, so it was so close. It could have been either team's game to win or lose, but that being said, that is 1-1. We're going to 3. It's probably going to be a crazy series. Neither of these teams want to lose, but we are going to send you to a quick break. I think both teams need a break for their mental. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Alrighty, welcome back to game number 3 between Mint and ID. We had a crazy game 2 where it was just a
Yeah.
constant back and forth, but ID able to tie up the series, excuse me, to a 1-1 as, I said it earlier. Even if they don't win the series, bringing us to a game 3 is just going to be something that they really needed. Because they have not been having a good split. The expectations were definitely not there. The same thing with Mint, but both these teams they need to win. Whether you're
Oh yeah.
ID fan, Mint win. Either of these teams are so much riding on them winning here tonight. And after the showing for both of these games, with ID having a phenomenal early game in game 1, but just losing out into the latter half of the game, and for Mint just having complete control pretty much throughout the entirety of game 2, for ID to just slam it in towards like the last 5 to 8 minutes. It was kind of like inverse with how both of them won their games in game 1 and game 2. But
Oh yeah.
fans don't expect anything to really change all that much. Gonna see the Tom, gonna see the Viego, gonna see the Mel, gonna see the Anivia. There is a Caitlyn ban actually coming out here. ID do get first pick here, so we'll see what they plan on prioring here, as Met do get the counter. Oh my goodness, both these teams are not disappointing.
Yeah, and talking about the bans, we don't really talk about all that much because while Fearless is in effect, Fearless doesn't have that much of an impact, at least in game number 2. Obviously, it makes it full different lineups, but there's still such a deep pool of champions that are very meta that it doesn't really matter. Once you get to game 3, that's a different story. That's when the champion pools really have to start being expressed a little bit. You have to start digging into your bag of tricks to see what you can pull out. And notably, of our highest presence champions in this split so far, so that's pick and ban, right now, only 3 of them have not been picked, and 2 of them have been banned away. That Mel and that Caitlyn. The only champion that's still on the board in the top 10 is a J4. So that is an option, just depending on where someone wants to pick them, if they want to pick him at all, but is still very strong in the current meta. So we are having to see these teams kind of pull into their bag of tricks and see what they can pull out. Corki, is again still meta, but is definitely not the first pick. That is also a flex from the mid or the ADC position. We have been seeing them a lot more in the ADC role, but so early into this game, ID had been playing with very flexible compositions, especially in the early stages of the draft. So this very well could go mid. It would be very funny if we do see that go mid and Mint pick an ADC mid themselves, seeing as they've been having very similar champions in that mid lane for the last 2 games. Or we see Mint pick up the Wukong, really strong early champion, as well as really good at running tanks and really strong in the mid game as well.
Interesting pick, because Wukong was actually one of the bans previously. That believe
Yeah.
ID. I can't remember if it was for game 1 and game 2. It was for one of the games. I do know that for
Oh
certain.
yeah, both.
So they did switch up a little bit in comparison. Mint didn't really switch up their bands at all, but ID did. The Tom Kench is still there though. Milio also going to be picked up quite early as well. Wukong, Milio. So I'm guessing a little bit of a on hit, maybe hyper carry ish into this bot side. You still have Varus as an option. You still have Twitch as an option. You still have Kog'Maw as an option. It doesn't necessarily have to be all these complete on hits. You could still have some other picks into it that could work well. Like if you really wanted a Kaisa, it wouldn't be awful.
Lucian can work
Lucian
here.
is also
Yeah,
a possibility with it.
that
Lucian is very strong at the current moment. Nautilus going to be locked in,
yeah,
so possible Nautilus Corki into the spot side. Very typical for what you would expect with the Corki. This
yeah.
is very basic cookie cutter. Covers a lot of the bases. Has the ability to play safe. Can definitely be a co-lane if possible. But in general, with how Zendrick has been playing, I mean, he could be playing Yumi for all I care, and this man will find a way to just absolutely dominate. I don't think that... Did he even miss a single death sentence last game?
The only ones I can remember him missing were ones that were Flash. So yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Lucian is the pick here. I think they actually kind of teased it because they knew Corki was there. It was one of those things of like, is ID going to deal with that and take it and run it with a Nautilus, or what were they gonna do? So that does pretty much, I think, confirm Corki is going to be going on that bot side. Lucian Melio. really strong. Obviously, Lucian Nami is kind of the go-to, but Lucian works with pretty much every enchanter. Milio is a little bit on the more defensive side, but that combination of a Wukong and a Lucian, if itemized properly, they can just shred through pretty much any front line in the game. So that is actually a very scary proposition. But bans coming back, second wave, the Alawi. So we're seeing very bully heavy top laners get focused out a little bit here. Obviously, Rutledge has been doing pretty well in the last couple of games. Has not been the hyper carry that he was in Split 1, but he's still doing well, so they're still trying to kind of choke out any picks that they may have. Both teams also going to ban out a mid laner. No mid laners have been picked yet. A lot of the big ones have been either played already or banned away. So that mid lane option is going to get very, very tight here. It's going to be very interesting. Lissandra is still on the board, and I think both of these mid laners actually play a really good Lissandra. So that might be a possibility unless it gets banned out here.
Yeah, Lissandra, very solid pick. It doesn't really take much to play her either. Very simple. It would mesh with both of these comps. You can
Yeah.
find an avenue for it, so I could see it as being a possibility. You'll see if anything is going to be up for Rept or Frozen to see kind of how they want to play this game. Rept has done a pretty good job into the laning phase. Um, Definitely, I'm just replaying that World Between Worlds with the Aurora dashing over from one side, Q with the E, and just deleting Rept without him even being able to use his ultimate on Ari. That is like a
Yeah.
core memory and from that game. It was just instantaneous. I thought he was trolling for a second because he was going in so deep, but was able to get that out. Veigar going to be Lethal out here for Rep though. Perfect, honestly. Nautilus, Corky, a lot of gap closing, a lot of engage, throwing out that cage there, and away a perfect answer to it as well
Yeah.
from Frozen. So I would say kind of good picks for both teams for kind of what they're looking for. Mint are really basing their engage off Wukong right now, so we're gonna see if they plan on throwing another engage S champion, or if they're gonna round it out with kind of like bruiser skirmisher type into the top lane, or maybe Wukong's into the top lane and it's the Wukong jungle. It could be flexed either way, which I'm pretty sure this is kind of what they wanted, seeing how they're red side and they get the counter pick.
Yeah, and they're going to have to kind of answer that. Jace, obviously, that range top lane is going to be a problem, especially as I think they probably would want something more like a bruiser, a little bit more tank heavy on the side, especially with the amount of damage that Wukong and Lucian and that Veigar have. They don't particularly need too much more, so a little bit of tankiness up front could help them out. But if they're gonna go top lane, going into that Jace is gonna be rough. We do see the Scion hover. Uh, there we go. Yeah, so they're gonna go for it. I don't know how Scion does into the Jace. I'd imagine struggle a little bit. It is just a ranged top into a melee top laner, so I feel like it would be difficult. But later on in the game, I could definitely see that Scion becoming a problem. Depending on how the Drakes go, both of these games have gone pretty late. Not crazy, but they've gone late for the current standard of game lengths. So if they get to 5, 6 Drakes, depending on what the soul is, if we get like a Mountain Soul or even a Mountain Drake somewhere in the mix, that Scion could become a raid boss of a top laner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he's going to struggle in the beginning. It's gonna get to a point where he's just gonna have so much HP and resistance that's really not going to matter. I doubt we're gonna see boss level of shenanigans. That would be very funny, but doubt that's going to happen. No 0-10 Scions here tonight. At least I hope not. Daro is a good enough player to not throw that out into a game 3. Maybe
Yeah,
in game 5 finals,
absolutely.
he might do something crazy like that. But that's gonna be here tonight. There's a lot of range coming out for ID. You got the Corky Rockets, you got the Way, you got the Jace. So definitely going for more of a poke heavy composition. These tend to be very, very difficult to actually pull off. even for competitive seasoned professional players. I mean, it's a composition that is a very hit or miss. It's feast or famine. So we're gonna see
Yeah.
if ID can really pull it off here. They do have a little bit of a safety net with that Iron into the jungle that is gonna kind of save them and give them a little bit of grace if Mint can get on top of them. But still, in general, if Mint gets on top of you, they have a lot of damage, they have a lot of burst, and they definitely have enough utility to just win out these fights. So, and there's not really that much peeling going on with ID. So
Yeah,
both
I was
win
gonna
cons for
say.
both teams. We're gonna see which one kind of plays their comp better. ID definitely has a harder comp to accomplish, but I will say it has a harder comp to counter if done well.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit for ID here because those poke compositions are kind of really dependent on their front line, being able to taunt up their enemies, also being able to peel. And I agree. I don't know how much they're gonna get from that front line of pretty much Ivern, Daisy, and the Nautilus. So that is a little bit. I think we're yet again in a position where Mint's composition is nowhere near as creative as IDs, but I mean, again, just like in the top side, those really uncreative compositions work because they work. That like just fundamentally they do well in most positions and against most compositions. They can either keep the game pretty level and have a win con late on, or they can just kind of have answers to anything that gets thrown at them. So, like, for instance, into this poke composition, how are they going to deal with the Scion? If they get to late game and the Scion does become a raid boss, they'll be able to do a lot, but they're gonna have to focus so hard onto this Scion, and if the Scion closes the gap onto them, the pairing of the Wukong and Lucian will get onto them so quickly, and that backline will just be dust. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game. I do think the later it goes, the more Mint has the advantage. But that being said, yeah, it again, last game was so close.
It
You
was.
never know. It could go practically either way. Obviously, I think I've had the better early game, so that does help them out quite a bit. Mint just need a little bit of assistance when it comes to closing out their games, but they also had a really strong close for game one. So this is probably the most level series we've had so far this split. I could see this game going either way.
Yeah, it really could go either way. Because, from last game, we really thought Mint was going to take it, and it did look like they were, just for them to get hit by just, mispositionings after mispositions to kind of fall down to ID. But it was such a close game, and with ID winning out into the early game from game one, and for Mint to kind of do the same thing that they did to them in game number two, where they lost out in early, but they were able to win out into the latter half of the game. But with this composition, it's so volatile for both teams, and it's really hard to pinpoint exactly kind of how it's going to go off because ID is riding the momentum from possibly reverse sweeping with the 2-0 into the best of three. And man, they definitely are wanting to really kind of prove themselves here tonight. I mean, the same with ID, but after the trade, they have a lot to prove to really show that they can come back up and just be these absolute giants that they were. But that's still a lot of stories to tell here as game number 3 is going to be coming up here in just a little bit after we get into the spectator delay. See you then. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 3 in week 4 of the LFA. ID and Mint. ID back onto the blue side, Mint back onto the red. Currently, Mint did win onto this one, and red side actually 100% win rate onto the series so far. So, statistically wise, Mint should be winning this game. But we do see a possible stack going on here. Nautilus is picked up here by Zendrick. Dredgeline, his very historically a lot easier to land in death sentence, and with him pretty much not missing any death sentences, I expect Zendrick to do a lot this game. Gonna go and just get the basic ward out, double ward actually, into the Mint's top side here. So nothing's gonna be answered back onto the bot side so far from Mint, but yep. Again, all eyes on Zendrick. I'm gonna try to keep a mental note and see if this guy ever misses any hook of this game.
Yeah, finally a little bit of a deviation as we see a little bit of an invade, just getting that vision down to help get a little bit more information. That being said, it is going to go right into a pause. We haven't had one this entire series yet, so got to give some leeway. It has to happen at least once.
It's bound to happen.
It's just bound to happen, yeah. But we do see pretty much everyone immediately go back into their place. There was no real response from the side of Mint. They're just going to let that happen, and they're not going to push out. So it's going to come in favor of ID and nothing really from Mint. That, again, it is just information, so it's not the end of the world, but that will certainly help out Nazian on the Iron. It will definitely help decide how they want to clear and where they want to end up. I do believe the pause should end here relatively quickly. Nation is reconnected, and they were the one that was out, so it should just be another minute or so. But yeah, we are actually finally seeing the mid lane a little bit different. Obviously, more of an artillery mage coming out on Frozen with that Hwei. Meanwhile, it is outright just a burst mage. Rep is going to try to one-shot that poor emo man. But yeah, it's going to be interesting on the mid lane. Meanwhile, that bot side, I think I personally lean a little bit towards Mint, but the damage that Corki has, and you can never count out Zendrick. You're absolutely right. This Nautilus could absolutely be terrifying if they find the right hooks, which they seem to just know. It's like intrinsic for them. They just can do it.
Yeah, and Rept also in a position where he's not really going to be able to bully Frozen as much in comparison to the other games. I mean, Ari tends to have an easy time. Syndra tends to have an easy time to kind of bully your laners. Veigar and Hwei, not really the same matchup in terms of that. So Frozen actually has a chance to get a little bit of payback from both of those games. So how well Rept was kind of keeping him out of lane and just having and holding Prio over the mid lane pretty much the entire time. Or Rept will just completely not care and just do what Rep does and just, you know, hold over just this absolute prio that he's had for both these games, which is kind of contrary to what we would expect considering just how well Frozen was playing last split.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do finally see the waves crashing in. We do see these first couple seconds, and we do see a counter jungle immediately. Ivern is looking to yank away that blue buff from the Wukong and is going to go even farther into the jungle. So depending on what they know, this might come at a pretty heavy cost, especially if this Wukong doesn't have the read that the bottom side has been taken already. If Ivern can get in, get out, and make their way over to their own red, they'll have their own blue side secured already. So that would be really good to, one, punish the Wukong and also get Nazian ahead.
Yeah, rule number one when you face an Ivern, you gotta ward the opposite buff you plan on taking. I mean, it's just, that's just law, it's rule. I mean, you know that he's gonna do this. He just needs a couple seconds with the smite, and you can actually see the rest of ID actually going and checking Nation's top side, just in case if Beanie decided to split the map and vertical clear, but they had no vision onto the Ivern, so they had no clue to even try to attempt something like that. As Relic is going to be knocked up here. He's actually down a level onto Daro, taking a lot of damage there. Definitely not how you would expect this matchup to kind of be going so far, but Daro just really showing up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Wukong now has finally seen that the blue buff has been taken, and on the opposite side of the map,
Line
can't really
right
do much
onto this
about it.
player. Dilly is going to be jumped on by VB Warrior. Cozy Campfire with the shields is going to be used. Zendra taking about half HP. Dilly going to be taking a
Oh,
lot of autos. He's going to dash forward with the barrier. It's not going to be enough. The piercing light isn't there. First blood going to go over to Dilly. Zendrick getting the other. Yep, still doesn't miss his abilities even as Nautilus. What a surprise there. Not really. As 2 kills going to go over to ID, they start this game feeling really good.
yeah, that's going to be massive. Obviously, the feats of strength are in play, so going up 2-0 early is really nice. It's also a kill onto the Corki. Dilly, again, one of the standouts for this team in terms of kills. That is massive to get them that kill so early. That also gets them a longsword, so or excuse me, an extra tier. So that's going to be a nice bit of extra components in their hands. So they'll be in a pretty good position to continue to try to keep control of this lane. We do finally see the pickups from the Ivern, so a lot of CS going their way, and there's a possibility of a gank here. This Ivern just seems to be living in this Mint's jungle. They just constantly are in that area.
Yep, he's looking for something onto Frozen. He's getting ready with the fear. There it is, doing a little bit of damage right onto him. He's going to walk away. He's going to run right into Nation, though. Going to be rooted up, take about half. There's a shield. Beanie's going to go for a little bit of a trade, but that HP is just going to mean so much. You may have better skirmishing abilities, but when you're already at half HP after just a couple of spells, not much you can really do here as ID pushing out Mint spot lane right now. Definitely right after that early fight there that his tier followed up by Ruby Crystal and a longsword. And there's Dredgeline right onto this player, taking him to below half, taking a lot of damage. Cozy Campfire doing so much trying to keep him alive. VB Warrior taking about a third as well as Beanie being pushed out of his jungle. Rutledge and Asian have his number. TP coming out from Rep, maybe to possibly look for something to help out his jungler, but he's gonna have to help just clear this wave. And with Smite up, Nation's probably just gonna pick up these Raptors. Beanie just not having a good time at all.
Yeah, a little rough. That being said, Drake is up now. It is the Cloud Drake, so that's going to be something to play for. I think, honestly, both of these ADCs would appreciate it. I think Jace would also do well with it. So that is something that both teams are going to want to play for. Obviously, Grubbies still have a couple minutes until they are up as well. So one major objective to play for. No one has died yet since those first 2 kills, so there's still practically all the feature strength to go for. It's still a rather even game, even though there's a pretty heavy goal lead in favor of ID, but that's pretty much down to a bit of a CS gap, especially in that mid lane.
They're gonna land right onto this player. He's gonna be forced to flash. About to fall down. The ignite is there. One more auto. There it is. VB Warrior gonna be next target. Has the flash if he needs it. Beanie on his way. He's gonna be forced to flash after seeing the other member of ID down there. Rutledge and Dara going for a little bit of a scuffle. Not much going to be found there. Nation looking for something there. Does force VB Warrior to have to flash her to make sure he does not get rooted up. And, I mean, that's just so much damage from Corki. That's just the lane that they drafted. As Dara, Rutledge, gonna see if he can find anything there. The onslaught is there, not gonna be able to get the knockup, but the slow is gonna be there. Another slow gonna be stacked up there, just doing so much damage, forcing the flash out from Rutledge to make sure he does not get decimating smash there. I mean, I was expecting, it is equal in CS to the top side, but I was expecting Rutledge to have a little bit more prio into this lane. I'm not much of a top laner, but I was expecting the Jace to do a little bit better.
Yeah, you would imagine so, especially being ranged. Obviously, Sion with that smash does have a little bit of range themselves, but that cooldown, it should mean that it does go the way of Jace, but it's just being operated so well by Daro. And again, this Ivern is just in the jungle. Beanie
He's gonna be
is just
found
not
out
having
by
a good
Rep,
time.
gonna be rooted up. He doesn't have flash. Beanie's gonna try to catch up into him. Daro, nice clone to cancel out the ultimate from Frozen. Without a flash though, he's probably gonna fall down. One more auto, the shield is there! The Q is gonna have enough range, and Rep's just gonna fall right up onto Frozen. Gonna dodge out from that Q there. Just gonna go back up to farming here. Seems like Rep kind of read the signs there and realized what was going on and is able to at least pick up a kill for his jungler to at least give him a little bit of reprieve there. He's actually still technically up 8 CS, so I guess he's not doing too bad, but still, it is very annoying to face an Ivern. Stretch Line gonna land right up onto there. There's the depth charge, so much damage. Hero's gonna be forced to use there. One tower shot gonna be answered over to Zendrick. Zendrick, once again, don't think he's missed a single Dredge Line. Gonna keep on counting there as this player. One hook away from pretty much just falling down from the absolute burst that ID's bot lane has.
Yeah, no, this bot lane pairing has just become super deadly. And I mentioned it in game 1. I think I mentioned it in game 2 once Daily started getting kills, that they are just terrifying if you let them get ahead, and they have taken
something there. He's going to flash outside of that cage there. 2 tower shots right onto that Wukong there. He's going to be into that with that Thunderbolt. Beanie about to fall down here. Have to be a little bit careful. He is going to be spotted out by this control ward. Really going to be doused away with the Valkyrie, but yeah, is going to be seen by that control ward. Isn't going to notice it, is going to walk right past it, but he's going to be able to pick up that topside Krugs for himself. Drake and the Void Grubbies both onto the map here, and we do see Cindric, like usual, rotating to this top side, as Unstoppable Onslaught is going to get knocked up, but the slow is there, going to knock him away, though, and, doesn't have the flash this time, doesn't have the knock away. Is going to be able to dodge out with that movement speed with the ultimate, though. But still, Daro holding up a lot of pressure into this top side. Reset coming out from the Wukong zone with Zidric into the top side. I'm pretty sure ID just pick up the Void Grubs.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much Mint can do here. This is a very good early game for ID. They have the advantage.
Daro got to be
gold
careful.
Kills. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything he can do to get out of this one alive. Zendrick, though, going to take that one away. Says, all mine. I've been doing so much in all these games. I deserve a little something for myself. Void Grubby's going to be started up. Definitely going to go over to ID at this point with no top laner from there.
Yeah, no top laner. It is going to be attempted to trade. They are going to be spotted. So it is going to look like it's at least going to look like a Drake for Grubbies. It's just a matter of how quickly this Drake can be taken. And it does look like it is going to be the case. It did look like for a second Frozen might try to go down and have a say about the matter. But in a 4v1 position, obviously Corki alone on that bot side, just a little bit too vulnerable, the pair of them, to really do too much. So they're going to give up that Drake. The Cloud is, again, very strong, especially for the likes of Lucian. So that is a little sad to lose if you're ID, and it starts the Drake stacking for Mint, which they have not had a really good early Drake stacking yet. So that will be nice for them, and it does kind of give them a path to crawl back into this game, because they have been on the back foot practically since the very start, because once they got that first kill, they were down pretty heavy. Oh my.
Right onto Beanie. Of course he lands it, but not much really going to be found out there. Rutledge Daro doing a little back and forth as all top laners do. And still, the splitter really attached to VB Warrior, but not much is really going to be done to this bot side. It's really hard for him to really find anything. Dilly with a dash. There's the flash. There's the Dredge Line. Going to be landed up there. There's Jet Charge. Ignite. The splitter going to be forced to flash. VB Warrior so far in, but that's still a lot of damage out to Dilly. If the Cozy Campfire might be enough, there's the barrier answered on both sides. Beanie is on his way, but Nation might be able to find something out to VB Warrior. He's going to be able to dash right out of that one. Beanie's still looking for something. The Cyclone not going to be there. Enough damage. TP coming out for Frozen forever there. Dredge Line going to land once again. He's going to completely ignore that. One more Q going to be enough. Not going to be able to find it. Are barely missing onto the player. Daro and the Rutledge now going to have a little bit of a scuffle here. Taking a lot of turn shots, but the shield is there. Rutledge going to be a little bit careful. It's going to be armor going to be shredded, but it is going to be a lot of damage clapped back onto Daro. He's going to have to back out of this one. Both flashes up in the top side. Still, though, could be a pretty volatile and explosive here. Daro not looking for something. Does have the ultimate and going to be able to shield up. Not going to be able to get the knockup, but taking a lot of damage. Definitely going to have to be careful here. Not much you can really do. No TP. Probably is just going to have to reset and ult back to lane here. But ID finding a lot into this bot side once again. Bot lane is just the name of the game for both of these teams.
Yeah, and it really is a one-sided story so far. Dilly 3-0-1, Zendrick 2-0-3. they are just running them down, even with the assistance of Beanie. This Mint bot lane is struggling here as the entire rest of the team just collapses in on the bot side, and it gets cleaned up nice and easy. Only one player for ID is fallen, and it's the Iron, so that's something you would be very willing to give up. Mint, certainly I don't even want to say reminiscent of game one, because at least they felt much more in game one. This feels much more one-sided. I feel like they took game one very personally and are trying to make this one seem a lot smoother than game two. But that being said, it's still early doors. There's still a lot to be decided. Obviously, only one Drake has been taken, so we'll see
Auto
who
is
secures
gonna
the
go
lead on.
over to Beanie, barely is gonna try to clone right out of that one. Burrow to try to get him out alive. I think he's too tanky for them to really find anything. Maybe taking Tomo is about half HP, still has the flash, still has the ultimate, is going to be careful, but it's going to be fine. There's depth charge, dredge drive right onto this player. The ult to keep him alive, but it's not going to be enough. Cozy Campfire is not even on VB Warrior, and he's not alive anymore to put it on him. Daro going to be pushed out of here. Beanie is going to decide to reset, and they're both actually going to end up staying here, and Daro might have just been the wrong call. Going to be able to hit him right out of the double E, but it's not going to matter. Nice snipe coming out from Rutledge to be able to pick him up. Daro now in Zombify, trying to pick up as much CS as possible. Nation have to be careful! Almost fell down there to the shotgun blast of Rep there. And he's just trying his best to get him off the tower of Rutledge. You're going to have to be a little bit careful. No flash coming up from the Wukong, so can't really follow much from that. But Daro, second death of the game. Currently a death, at least one death to each member aside from Rep, and that's kind of all eyes on him. He's looking to pick up the first tower, a couple autos away. He's still going to go for it. Nope. Might have, yeah, one more auto would have been enough, but he decided to
might still get it?
Maybe? One more auto. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Marcus the Minion. Get that man an MVP trophy. Really putting the team on the back there as able to pick up the first tower for Mint. Infusing a little bit of gold into their pockets, especially for Rep there, as he's practically the carry here.
That's also huge because Mint were the ones to secure the first Drake. So they're 1-to-1 on major objectives. So that actually gives them a means of maybe securing the feats of strength. I do say that. This Drake is very clearly ID, so they're going to be on the back foot, but at least keeps them in the game. That being said, it does look like once again it is a trade, but now it's going to be one Drake for one. But instead of Grubbies, it looks like the Rift Herald is going to go over to Mint. So the next major objective that comes up is going to be the big decider of who gets the feats of strength.
Zedric's looking for something. Zedric missed! God can bleed! Oh no!
And that's where the game turns.
Yeah, that's it. That's right there. It's all destroyed. Beanie gonna flash over the wall to get out of that one. Is gonna be able to pick up the Shelly. 2-2 for the objectives. Next one decides defeats. Oh no, Cedric, he finally missed one. At least I've been able to notice. It's about time to be shown that gods can bleed. It is going to be the calling to cool down this wave, to try to keep BB Warrior and Displayer just their heads just above water here into this lane. As Nation's gonna be found out here, Rep is on his way. Pretty he's just gonna fall down here, and Rep gonna be donated that one. As Daro and Beanie gonna be looking for something onto Rutledge. He does have the flash, so he does have that ready, as he's just gonna eat a full decimating smash. They're gonna be knocked up again with the unstoppable on top, but is he gonna try something onto Daro? But with Shelly, gonna be able to pick up that one. Depth charge, drag right into his boss side. BB Warrior gonna dash out of that one. Cozy Campfire to keep him alive. Zendrick took that personally, is just going to land another Dredge Line instead, but still no deaths going onto this bot side. Rutledge barely living out onto that one, and Tower going to fall down as well. A little bit of gold infusion into this top side. As right now, Mint just riding a lot of momentum and actually equalized the goal lead and technically up a couple hundred. As Dredge Line right into VP Warrior, taking a lot of damage, going to be forced to flash. Nice reaction time from him. Gilly running low onto that mana bar here, so a little bit scary for him, but still lives out onto that one. As Daro and Nation gonna find each other out. Nation gonna be starting to be pushed out his top side here if Daro continues with this amount of pressure he's providing into this top lane.
Yeah, and Mint is cracking it open. They've leveled on gold, despite the fact that 7 and 2 in kills. The fact that they've kept up in the major jungle objectives really help. That first turret also makes it so this is a very even game now. If they get that next major objective, they secure those feats, they get the buffs included, the tier 3 boots, and if they manage to maybe fight over that objective and they can win out that fight, that could very clearly finally put them in the driver's seat. But at the same time, if that goes the way of ID, it very well could just be the start of the snowball, seeing as they're already so far ahead in the kills. So it is pretty much anyone's game to play here. Timers are still rather long, though. So right now we're going to be in a little bit of a lull period. I'd imagine, and you kind of hope most players on this field, practically everyone, is going to try to play a little bit careful. I think the only person who has a little bit of wiggle room is Daro to continue to put pressure on this top side. But if they do push out too far, they can be punished pretty heavily by ID, which could give away what advantages Mint has already gotten. So I would assume for the next about 2 minutes until the Drake is up, which is that next major objective, I'd imagine everyone's going to play a little safe. But we are going to see a lot of presence down on the spot side, as we see here, with practically everyone.
You dash it with Cozy Campfire. That's a lot of damage going to be used. Running right into the Wukong, though. No flash. I think he's just going to fall down. Cyclone not even needed. TP coming out Frozen Forever. This is not the position he wants to be in. Is going to... Nice fear cancel coming out from the dash there. Displayer taking a lot of damage. I'm pretty sure that Thunderbolt's going to land. That's a lot of damage. TP coming out from Darwin to this boss side to defend Rept. He, about to fall down. Yep, there's the Thunder, but double knockup coming out. Decimating Smash only gonna find one. They're trying to cancel, but Zendrick, not long for this world, though, as Rep just gonna focus right on the Dylan next to find the cage, but it's not going to matter. Zendrick gonna miss it, but it's gonna land on train. Not gonna matter. One more auto. There it is, gonna fall down. Nation gonna be chased down by VB Warrior. Frozen Forever trying his best to throw out and sling out as many spells, hitting multiple members, but he just doesn't have the damage yet. Daro's too tanky. No Cozy Campfire, no heals from Displayer, but with the cages coming out, with a lot of crowd control and utility that Mint has, it might be enough, but with the constant slinging of spells Frozen Forever, Mint rethink their strategy, decide going to go ahead and retreat and fall back. Atacon's up, they want to prepare for it. Drake in 35 as well. Frozen Forever still not done. Good run right into BB Warrior. He's caught on the wrong side there. It's going to be forced to flash. Flash that's the main smack is going to be there. Is going to fear BB Warrior, but with the dash with the relentless pursuit, relentlessly going after Frozen Forever, he's finally going to fall down. Oh my goodness, Mint is really cracking it open like you said, as they have just slingshot the gold lead into their favor. Oh my goodness, all three of these games, constant back and forth.
Yeah, the only downside now is that because they took that final fight, those last two do need to recall, so they're going to be a little late to this Drake pit. But that being said, no, they're going to be down. ID Frozen still has a 10-second timer on their life. So they, despite the fact they're going to be late, are going to get first jump here. And it should practically be them as long as they have proper positioning here. And I think they have it.
Yep, they got it. They're going to be able to pick up the feats for that one. Nation going to be stunned up here. Going to be target flash. Cyclone coming out from Beanie. He's going to go right into backline, right into Dilly. Nation about to fall down. There he goes. Rutledge trying to do as much damage as possible. Displayer about to fall down. Beanie actually does fall down himself. Daro doing so much, just running into the backline there. Decimating Smash to knock up Zendrick. BB Warrior over the wall, keep himself safe. Daro is not done. He's going to continue to chase. Villain's going to be knocked up. Rep, couple more seconds with his wall coming out, flash coming out, and it's going to be there. Repped on a killing spree. Frozen Forever just gonna be able to just watch all of his members fall down in front of him. Dilly, Frozen, the only two left alive, and it is definitely cracked open. It's no longer in the early stages. Mint is just finding all the weaknesses in ID's lineup.
And there we go. That was what we were talking about in the lobby. That's what we were talking about during the draft. That Wukong jump into the back line. Oh, Frozen?
Frozen got to be a little bit careful. Is it going to be enough to find it with the cage? Not quite. Frozen is just trying his best. Like, he is trying to find every avenue possible to see if he cannot find a way back. I mean, he's 3-1, 4-1 onto Dilly. Anacon's going to be started up. Not much ID can really do. They didn't even have vision on it.
No, they don't. And also, the Frozen's backing away, so they won't get. So this is just going to be secured. We do see the TP to help out on mid lane. But yeah, no, we saw Dilly was the one frying in the early game, and they were the main damage dealing for ID. But Wukong just able to jump into the back line because Sion is pulling so much pressure, immediately jumps on the Dilly, pushes them all the way back to this entrance to red buff. And because of that, there's just not enough support and there's not enough damage from the rest of ID to deal with a Scion, let alone anyone else.
You got to be careful. Displayer going to be able to land it up. Cyclone is up and be knocked up about 3 separate times. No flash. Gonna fall down. That's a classic tilted. Just walking back to lane just to find out that there's a couple of members of the enemy team farming your drugs. As an ADC main, I know that feeling all too well. It's definitely not a nice one as they're gonna be able to pick up the solo gold onto that tier 1 bot tower. Yeah, it's gotten to a point where, how do you kill this man? Like, how? Like, Dilly's the only one that could realistically be able to do it, but with the members that Mint have, and especially with Emilio, are you going to be able to shred through all that? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, this is what I was talking about. And now in draft, the later this game goes, the more and more Daro becomes a problem. And we're already seeing it. Now 2, 2, and 4, they have the health items. They have all the resistances as well. They're starting to build even more. It's going to become a real difficult proposition to deal with Daro. So much so that even if they wanted to, they could probably put Dara out on the side lane and just go for a split push because it would just draw so much attention. Because even if you send one person to go deal with them, that's not going to be enough. You're going to need to send 2. You're going to need to send 3, which is going to cost them everywhere else. So Mint are kind of in this very advantageous position where they either have a just wall of meat that will never die during a team fight, or they have the split pushing option if the team fights start being a little bit wishy-washy. So
looking for something here. Flash dredge line going to land depth charge right into BB Warrior. Coin going to be used, but is going to be canceled. Beatty doing a good job throwing out the clone there, buying a lot of space for VB Warrior there to keep him alive. It is going to be a death onto Mint, forcing a flash out of Zendrick. Of course, lands the hook like he always does.
Oh, jeez.
And demolish damage. 2 members into this boss side. Is that going to be enough? Daro might just press R. Might not even feel the need to do it. We'll see how this goes. It might be enough of the shielding with the Ivern, but
you're doing nothing.
He has Unending Despair, so he's going to be constantly. There's the redemption. He is most likely going to fall down here, but not after a lot of effort. Is going to flash. Is going to be a flash answer from Routledge to cancel the unstoppable onslaught. Shutdown going to go over to Nation. You have to be careful. We don't want to die to Zombie Scion. It's a funny thing. Mint actually started walking over very late, and they actually almost got down there in time. Another like 3 seconds, and they probably would have. But yeah, they had to spend so much time and use a lot to take him down. I mean, it takes so long, and he's not even at 3 items.
Yeah, and on top of that, because they had to invest so much, with Drake up in 20 seconds, on their way down, they decided, we'll give up the Scion. He'll be back in time. He's going to be up in about 15. He won't be here for the actual fight, but they're going to have proper positioning. They're going to be in a spot to just secure this Drake.
He's got to be a little bit careful. Going to be forced to flash out. Dilly actually eating that dark matter a little bit. Not doing a whole lot there, but I like to look for something right onto the Wukong there. Nice clone to be able to jump out. About enough time for Daro with his TP. Without his ultimate, though, Dredgeon not going to be able to find anything. Again, Gods can bleed. Round number 2. Daisy taking a lot of damage. Is going to have to run away from there. Daro now properly into the front line. Zendrick could be the target here. Rep now just looking for anything with a possible cave, with a possible dark matter, with a possible Q. Going to land right onto the support there as into the backline. Beanie doing a lot there, knocking up so many, not going to be able to find a kill though. First and foremost, target is going to fall down. Daro just absorbing so much pressure to the front line. Zendrick going to fall down. Reps on a rampage. Nation about to fall down. Right like the Daily still really healthy, but is going to be stunned up by the cave. Double kill going over to Rep. Nation going to be the next target. About to fall down. Going to go over to BB Warrior. He's on a killing spree. And Relic, the only one left alive to share the tales of what could have been, but maybe not quite going to be able to hit up by that dark matter, take it to about half. That's going to be 3 Drakes going over to Mint, and once again, going to be a Hextech Soul. 3 games in a row, by the way. That's just
crazy.
Mint gonna be on so point here. The first time that they really got a lot of early Drakes and Drake stacking. And again, ID just cannot find an avenue for anything.
Yeah, Daro is kind of the key cog in this wheel, by the way. I mean, obviously has the TP, no ultimate to work with, but they just TP up into that mid lane bush and they start walking down. And if I'm ID, I am shaking my boots looking at the proposition of that big, it's the bull skin. So bull just running at them seemingly with no intent on stopping. It's kind of horrifying, especially as you know it's going to take at least 2 or 3 people to kill the one champion, and it's going to take them like 15 to 20 seconds. And in the end, they just don't have enough damage to deal with practically anyone for the side of Mint, and they're just able to melt them all.
Yep, IE Essence completed for the Lucian. We got 3 items onto Daro. He just finished the Jack show, so that's going to be a lot of resistance. That's going to be a tanky Scion there. Rutledge barely able to dodge out of that cage, so not going to be stunned up. 3 items onto Rept as well. Fully stacked up Rod of Ages. Everyone has their boot item completed and bought, so Mint just having a lot of extra stats just from that alone. There's just so much that's just doing so well for Mint. And Frozen, not even on his 3rd item yet. Once he gets the 3rd item, he'll be able to start slinging those spells and doing quite a lot. As, I mean, just that alone, thrown over to Beanie, did a lot of damage, as it is going to be stunning up right onto Rep, doing a lot of damage onto him, probably about half HP. Yep, has a lot of HP, so it doesn't look as impressive, but that is still a lot. Is going to be able to find out. Beanie, though, is going to be able to clone away. So it is going to be a split team, but Zendrick found on the wrong end. Going to be pushed right into the cage, though. Both the Redemption to be able to keep him alive. Depth charge right onto VB Warrior. Rutledge trying to do his best. Nice! Unstoppable onslaught from Daro doing so much. Double knockup. Cyclone is there, too, with a double knockup right on top of that. Comp that a triple one. And Nation about to fall down. It is Beanie going to fall down, but doing so much for his team. Daro cannot die. Taking up 4 members. Double knockup. Dark Matter at the 2! Cole, that a nice companion there. As Zendrick about to fall down, forced to flash, and he just Valkyrie straight into Valhalla onto that one. Triple kill going over to this Veigar Baron. Now the objective here. VB Warrior walking back from the base. Oh no, Beanie the only one to fall down, but he did so much for his team, getting so many knockups. The same with Daro here with a nice wombo combo coming out with his mid laner, keeping them in line just for that double dark matter, for that double kill. As Rutledge now looking to stop something here. They don't have smite. He's gonna look for something nice. Cave coming out. Gonna take him well below half HP. Looking for something nice. Able to pick up for Rutledge there. Unstoppable onslaught though is going to be able to pick up the kill onto Rutledge. That is the best that Rutledge is going to be able to do though. And it's a perfect member nonetheless. Able to pick up the shutdown as well. So a little bit of gold infusion, but still Mint are feeling so nice with how these team fights are going. And they are just playing it so well together.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but even after ID had secured 2 kills, they went down 5-3 in that fight, and at the end it didn't matter because they couldn't kill Daro finished that fight with more than half health left, by the way. They just cannot deal with it. The double knockup into that Veigar blast that got 2 kills secured. It's just so much to deal with. And ID are doing good. They're able to get rid of that back line. But the moment they have to deal with the front line, it becomes a problem. And the entire fight just kind of breaks down around them. They do secure Baron, so they are wearing purple. There is obviously no Drake yet, but it's only a minute out, so they're gonna have the Baron buff for this fight, which is why we're seeing a little bit of poking from ID. They're trying to maybe catch someone off guard, make it a 5v4 fight for this Baron, or excuse me, for this Drake, and remove a Baron buff off of one potential player.
Yeah, Daro just kind of able to walk very aggressively here. His behalf of his next item here. He does have to be a little bit careful. He doesn't want to take a lot of unnecessary damage with the shield like that. He can be a little aggressive if he wants to, though. Taking to about a 1/3 of HP there. Beanie going to be trying to sling a couple spells onto him, but going to be feared up. Cage not going to find anyone. Still, though, it is still a lot of healing that can come out with this Cozy Campfire if they can buy enough time for the cooldown. But still, this is where ID shines. They have, Zendrick gonna be able to find something right onto the Milio there, but it's just gonna be shredded down. Redemption's gonna keep him alive though. Darwin to the backline, same with Beanie. Cyclone Rhino into Frozen Forever, but like doing so much damage is gonna be enough. BB Warrior answering back. Flash coming out from multiple members. It is gonna be a double dark up once again into the dark matter. Daro and Red just work so well together. BB Warrior still alive. TP into the mid lane. They're looking to try to end the game right now. If not, just pick up all these objectives. 35 seconds onto the Baron. Dilly's the only one left alive. He does have the flash. No barrier. Darrow is full HP. Might as well be full HP for the rest of these two members as well. Yep, that's demolished for you. That's a lot of HP. See if they continue here. It is 6 seconds on Zendrick. Dilly does have a dash. He does have a gap closer. On top of Onslaught, that's the boss special right there. A lot of damage going on to this Nexus turf. Zendrick is here. Dilly trying to do his best. Nice stun up with the cage. Dilly into the backline. Flex around to rep. It's going to be a lot of hours. Baby Warrior's not even going to cage. It's going to go for it. Mint going to be able to close out the series with a 2-1 fashion. Finally showing a lot of progress here with the trade. And hoping to shoot for the top standings here as they are looking so strong.
That was an incredible game for them. Obviously, ID had control of it. They had a pretty firm control of that game for the whole. It was 7-2 in kills, but Mint just would not say die, and they go through. They get the major jungle objectives that they need to get. They consistently keep up. They don't give away too many things, and the most important thing is they play long enough and they keep themselves in the game long enough for that man up on the top lane to be a problem. They may have traded 3 of their core players, but Doro seems to have not missed a step. That Scion just constantly dictated the tempo of the game. That paired with the Vigar in mid from Rep, the 2 that were on the team and have stayed on the team, just seem to take control. Also, that Lucian cannot forget them in that like real final fight for that Drake pit. Obviously, that knock up with the Dark Matter is gonna get a lot of credit. But man, the shredding of that Nautilus from the Lucian ult, the rundown from Dilly as well. It's just so strong. The team is looking incredible. The trades seem to work out, and as well, I really like the drafting from them. Again, it's not very creative. But at the end of the day, a win's a win, and you take them where you can. If you get labeled uncreative, cool. Let the critics say it. But at the end of the day, you're going to be at the top of the table. So that's great. That also brings Mint 2-2, I think. So they're at least back to level in the standings.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to look at, especially from the second game, the problems of why they lost that game are very simple things to fix. I mean, you just kind of think about it, and it's like, okay, well, we just need to make sure when we have an Exodia comp like this, like we just gotta like not get too overzealous and just think we could do whatever we want. We just gotta play exactly, how you need to play League of Legends. And they most likely would have won that game as well. And both for game 1 and to game 3 here, it really shows their unbreakable mental and just their ability to take, to take inches and then like make it a mile. Like they're able to just blow out small leads so well. And I mean, even though ID has not been performing as much to expectation, this is still a solid team with a lot of solid members on it. I mean, Frozen, solid player. Rutledge, solid player. Zendrick, I mean, this guy is just like one of the best supports I have ever seen, not missing like any abilities. And Mint are able to find ways out of these bad situations, even with the constant momentum that ID was trying to put forward, especially through that bot side. So Mint, really well done from them, and this is a really good look from them, and should feel really happy even after that second game loss with how tonight went.
Absolutely. And good news even more for Mint, because this was probably the toughest game for the next couple of weeks. The 2 games that they lost were to To The Moon and High Alert, 2 teams that are really performing well. They're at the top of our tables for a reason. They're outstanding teams right now. And they obviously won against Divine Ascension, then Syndicate. But next up, they have Summit and Flannel, who are teams who are still solid, but they're on the weaker end of the spectrum. So the next 2 weeks, they're going to be able to maybe capitalize on this momentum and take themselves really far going into the later part of the split. So really good news for Mint. ID, obviously, it's going to make them think of a couple of things. Obviously, they're going to have to go up against Final Boss here in the relative near future to actually play out that week 1 game. And that's going to suck coming up with a loss possibly. So ID are probably going to be in their heads a little bit. So a lot of implications across the league. But that is going to be all we have for you guys. Mint versus ID 2-1 in favor of Mint after some massive shakeups. Crazy games. And of course, I would like to thank Sheep for joining me on the desk, Giggle for being the wonderful producer behind the screen. Excuse me, I am losing my mind tonight. I apologize.
That's just the series, man. It's been absolutely crazy. I'm losing my voice, man.
Absolutely. But again, special thanks to the players for coming out and really showing out tonight. Special thanks to, of course, all the moderators and the TOs making all the magic happen behind the scenes. And of course, special thanks to you, the fans, for watching, because if you're not watching, what's the point of us putting it on? Of course, it's same time, same place next weekend, Tuesday, 8 p.m. EST, the only time zone that matters. We will see you then.